Hello and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Serial Vasquez.
Hi.
Jeff Markifava.
Hey.
And Kyle Hilliard.
Hi.
Have you guys always sat in those exact spots for every episode of the podcast?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are creatures of habit.
But at Game Informer you didn't do that, right?
No, well, the trick with
no
Game
one
Informer
cares.
was to always try to get the spot that Serial is sitting in now, because then you have to turn your head less to talk to people.
Right.
And
Whereas-
yeah.
But you didn't want to fight Serial for that spot in the basement?
No, I like Serial.
All right, that's fine. Hey, thanks for watching or listening to this, everybody. We wanted to start things out by reminding you that my eye's watering.
He's
on
very
your behalf.
tired.
From all the Patreon support, right? You're
That
so
is true.
happy.
And so you can just take a nap in the middle of the podcast if you want.
No, but we have our first community meetup for MinnMax happening on December 9th. That's coming up quick probably by the time you're listening to this. So it's December 9th in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Is my eye exploding?
Yeah.
What the hell?
It's disgusting.
Yeah, I know.
It's really gross.
Anyways, in Minneapolis, Minnesota at Bauhaus Brew Labs, Bauhaus.
I thought it was B-O-W.
Nope, I don't
There are
think
going to
so.
be dogs, though, right?
No, no dogs. I don't know if they allow dogs. Don't bring your dog. Just come. You know what you should bring instead of a dog? Is a dog toy, and not the chewable kind.
No.
Here's the point.
Like a child toy.
We're doing a
Toys for children.
thank you,
Please.
a charity drive with a bunch of toys. So bring in a newish toy. It just has to look new, ladies and gentlemen. So bring some new toy in. You can exchange it for beer at this community meetup. We're also going to be having a Smash Brothers tournament, and you don't have to be a Patreon supporter to come to this event. You can bring loved ones. Bring them all down. And so we're going to be taking all those toys then and then donating them to a local hospital for kids to play with over the holidays, for kids and families stuck in the hospital over the holidays. But last week after the podcast, we launched a GoFundMe for people that were outside of Minneapolis or Minnesota so that they could also support buying some toys for kids stuck in the hospital. And it's amazing. I think we've cracked $1,300 dollars now. So it's so nice to get out of the gate with MinnMax and know that this is a really generous, awesome community. So I'll put the link in the description for either the podcast or the YouTube version so you can follow it through and make that number go even higher. It's going to be awesome. What are we doing today, Serial?
Just hanging out, reading some magazines,
Awesome.
having coffee, looking at our phones. We're just hanging out here, guys.
Yeah, great point. We do have a bunch of old Game Informers on the table because we needed help remembering what games came out which year. Because in this episode of the podcast, we're going to run through not our Game of the Year for 2019, but we'll get to that very soon. But we're going to run through our favorite games of the decade, which is, it turns out, a very tall order to try and map out. But thank God.
And specifically, it's one game per year.
It's not like an
for the entire
overall
decade.
list. Of
No, correct.
And
yes.
we should say that this came from a reader. This was a reader suggestion.
That's true. This was a couple weeks ago. Yeah, somebody wrote in on the Patreon, because if you support the Patreon at any level, patreon.com/minmax2ns, then you can leave a question or comment, which we'll get to in the back half of this show. And somebody wrote in saying, hey, what's your favorite game from each
Every year.
Yeah.
And it's like, that should be its own thing. And then eventually it's like, let's just make it this episode of the podcast, because we're getting in that time of the year where...
Yeah, we're going to ignore all the big releases that came out this week and just
Well,
do
we
this
could
and
talk
this.
about
We're
Halo
giving them-
Reach, but then it's like, hey, guess what year Halo Reach came out? 2010. That's how we can kick this off, right? Because it's everybody's favorite game of 2010. So we're going to walk through each year, make some corrections along the way, and have some fun reminiscing. But it is so nice. I don't know how many of you watching or listening have this level of support, but it turns out that it's really nice to have your top 10 list from each year printed in a magazine like Game
That made
Informer,
it
so I
much
can just
easier, yes.
yeah, so I can just flip through and look at those and go, oh my God, what was I thinking?
And also having an ex-coworker who went through and pulled out the right issue for every year.
Oh,
I
fresh.
totally just came over and looked at the stack you already had.
Looked at
It
the
was
stack.
the easiest preparation work I've ever done.
I did mine online.
It's crazy looking at these because, like, boy, some years, real stinkers. I hate myself, but then it's like, well, I don't know what else I would have put on this list. Other years, it's like, pff, that's a perfect list.
Holy crap.
Can I guess what year you're talking about? The stinker year?
It's the worst year in recorded history, which everybody knows is 2014.
2014.
I hate it. Okay, 2010. Let's go back in time. Let's all impersonate ourselves from 2010.
Wow, I wish I could work for a major publication soon.
I'm graduating high school.
It's high school, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Is that right? When did you graduate high school?
2010.
Oh, wow, that's wild. Okay,
Young
Serial,
child.
what was your favorite game of the year in 2010?
So the game that I wrote down, which I completely regret at this point.
Hang on. So back even in high school, you were keeping track of your game of the year?
Yeah.
That's
'cause I'm
amazing.
a dumb nerd.
Sure.
Joe Danger. was my game of the year in 2010. I will say though,
yes.
I like
Cartoon
that
Trials.
game a ton. Yeah,
It's a good game. I like that
yeah.
game.
2010 was
Did not
stacked.
It
Yeah.
did
Was
not
stacked,
land
yes.
on my list, but it's a good game.
And you said I have high hopes for this Hello Games team.
That's right.
This
That's why I'm
Sean
so
Murray.
disappointed with the state of No Man's Skies because there's not enough tricks in them. But I still really like that. I think it would have kept on this list if I would make it now. It would probably be down quite a few
Yeah.
spots. But like at the time, I was really into that game. So
That's alarming.
So random.
What
Number-
about that game?
like I like that it wasn't taking itself as seriously as Trials and then I think a lot of the later levels have just a lot of very creative design to them where you're using different bumpers and different boosts and like the amount of control you had on your little motorbike was actually like I think it was very different from Trials.
It's more fun.
Yeah,
than
it's a lot
Trials.
more
Yeah.
arcadey than Trials. It felt like Excite Bike more so than like Trials.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
in how like weird and like the way it let you use air tons. Like there'd be things where like you would spring up on a thing and then your job was to guide your air time through like a series of spikes because that's how much like control you had on your bike.
Yeah, definitely better than Mass Effect 2.
We were all thinking.
I would still place it there because I'm not I'm not the biggest proponent of Mass Effect 2.
Are you serious?
I'm not.
It-
I'm not either.
Mass Effect
honestly.
2 is like my number 10 on this list.
It is also my number 10 for that
What
year.
Yeah.
the hell?
I know,
This is
I know.
confusing.
What are we doing here?
Real quick
Hanson?
before we move on, I would
please.
100% swap it at this point for my number 2, which is Super Mario Galaxy 2, which is the obvious answer that I should have put first.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the obvious answer for that year, but absolutely. And like looking back at my 2010, that's when I started at Game Informer, and so it's a weird split where it's like this is what I was playing before I got into the industry. So 2010 is like a nice summary of that. And like I hadn't played a lot of the big games that came out that year.
What was your number one?
Well, number one was Mass Effect 2 because I'm not an idiot. But it's like I had played that and also Red Dead Redemption, which is
Yeah.
obviously my number
Yeah,
2.
yeah.
Red
but-
Dead was my number one.
Is that
It still
right?
is, yes.
It's my number 4.
3 for me.
Wow.
Galaxy above it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
hang on.
Is-
No, let's make this more official. So your number one is Mass Effect 2?
Red Dead.
I'm sorry, Red Dead.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
number 2.
It was Mass Effect 2.
Okay, so we just have those flip-flopped. And where are you at, Kyle?
You want my like top 2 or 3? Number 1, Limbo.
Over
That actually-
Red Dead Redemption.
That makes
1.
sense for him, though.
Yeah, honestly,
I
yeah.
can appreciate that.
Yeah, and then
You don't have to.
Then Mario Galaxy 2, and then Red Dead. Yeah.
Do you guys all like Galaxy 2 more than 1?
I do.
I think I have Galaxy 1 is like the initial wow, this is amazing, and Galaxy 2 is like a good iteration of that.
Yeah.
So I think like nostalgically Mario Galaxy 1, but I think Galaxy 2 is probably a better game.
I think so too. It's definitely a series that I want to play back to back again. I have the same feelings that I
Want it
have
on
about
Switch.
Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door.
If only Nintendo had an enormously popular platform that they could use to release older games and charge full price for them that I would pay.
It'd be nice.
I would totally pay it. Yeah.
Kyle, I have yet to finish Limbo. And
Really?
Yeah, I've played maybe like 30 minutes of it.
Yeah.
And I grew to love Inside.
Yeah, Inside, but that was kind of like that was tough for you though, right? Like it's
It was
not
a
your
growing
genre.
experience. I started out like, this isn't really my thing. I'm
Yeah.
not really into being spooked. But then I realized, like, oh no, it's better than that.
Yeah,
It's just
Limbo's
really
not.
brilliant.
Limbo's all about atmosphere. It's not like jump out spooky. It's a different type of scary. Anyway, I love Limbo, so that's my number 1.
Yeah. Number 3, I'm curious where it lands for you, Serial, is StarCraft 2. Wings of Liberty came out 2010.
That would be 5 right under
Number
Red Dead.
5.
Yeah.
What is your freak list? Just run down this thing.
So number 1 is Joe Danger, as I was
So
saying.
funny.
Number 2 is Super Mario Galaxy 2. Number
Good.
3, which is on brand, No More Heroes 2, Desperate Struggle, which I would probably place there because it's like the best game Suda has made in terms of like if I were to introduce someone to Suda, it would probably be this game.
Except
Then Red Dead, then StarCraft, then Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Super Street Fighter 4, BioShock 2, Pac-Man Championship Edition DX,
Oh,
and then
wow.
Mass Effect 2.
What is your beef with Mass Effect 2? What's going on with you two?
I'm not a big Mass Effect guy.
It's a good game. I like that game,
Yeah.
but it's just like it was one of those things where I guess I didn't see in it what others saw. Like the loyalty missions are really good, and like that ending is complete garbage. But
Of
like
2?
yeah.
The last boss fight?
I mean, even like a lot of it, like you have this really exciting thing, and here's like, oh, this is what we were afraid of. But like, I don't know. But I guess I don't like the things that people like about it, and there's also a lot of like grinding for like the resources.
Yeah.
Like when you're doing all the satellite stuff,
I just didn't buy into the world as much. Yeah, I like it. I like that game. It's on my top 10 list, but like,
Shut it down. Shut it down. This episode's over.
Buy into the world.
Buy into the world is the wrong term because that means like I found what I mean is like it just I wasn't very attracted to it. Like I didn't fall in love with it the way most people did.
And
but
also,
I admire it. And I had a good time with it.
There's also to me like a lot of seeing people talk about it. Like it was a game that was very hyped up when I came into it, and I played like the Mass Effect 1. I was like, this is okay. And then I played Mass Effect 2, and it's like you see all these planets on the solar system. And you're just like, oh man, I could go anywhere, and all those locations feel so limited. I'm like, oh, here's the area for this world. But like, I do like the choices. I think the choices are good, but at the time there was a lot of like, like you look at Paragon Renegade, and it's like you're kind of gamifying the options. Like if you see a Paragon option, you're going to pick that one regardless of what you actually think.
Yeah.
So it comes down to a lot of decisions I have with the way games tell stories. But Mass Effect 2 is a good game. I don't like it as much as a lot of other people.
I could roast a marshmallow with comments.
I know. I mean, like, I'm fine because like JV stopped listening to this podcast as soon as I said it, so he threw his phone into the wall. He's not going to hear this part. That's fine. Hi, JV.
On the list of big regrets, looking back on it, I must not have played it in 2010, but like Rock Band 3 came out 2010.
Sure.
That absolutely deserves a spot, especially considering like my number 4 on the list for 2010 was, I think I told the story before on the Game Informer show, but a game that Matthew Cotto, I remember, like cornered me in the office, and he's like, hey, I looked at your top 10 list, and did you mean to type Civ 5 here? It's like, no, I meant to type VVV, that platform, which I really love, especially the soundtrack, but it still made me laugh so much.
Was autocorrect the thing back then?
What's that?
Was autocorrect the thing back then?
No, it wasn't invented until 2017.
Cotto correct back then. Do we have weirdos? Should we just like...
on that list?
One more, the one that stood out to me, I didn't copy down my entire top 10 list, but I put at number 5 Super Meat Boy. And that's
number 5 is also my Super Meat Boy.
Yeah, that was definitely consideration.
Do you feel like I should have gone higher or lower? What are you getting at?
With the contenders that I had at the time, we bookmarked it for a reason.
I'm getting there. So you can have your list ready.
Let me look real quick.
Meat Boy, because I had to go make my 2010 list.
Yeah.
And like Meat Boy was definitely like 11, 12.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you would love Meat Boy.
I do like Meat Boy, but I don't know. I just not.
See how he switched it there? I do like Meat Boy.
It was like one of my top 15 favorite games of the year.
15.
I would move it up to number 3. My number 3 was Bad Company 2. Which is still great.
Also on my list,
But it's one that, I would never go back to. At this point, 10 years removed, I feel like a classic game, I would still go back to Super Meat Boy and play it and love the hell out of it.
It's aged so well.
So it should move up. And then Pinball FX 2 was number 4, and I still do really like that too.
Yeah.
But I'd probably still move Super Meat Boy above that one. But
Sure. Makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting looking at how well things have aged. I think VVV, cute platformer. I guess cute's a weird term for that, but like that's aged about as well as you'd expect. Meat Boy, I think, has aged remarkably well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would argue StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, especially that campaign, I think it's still aged really well. I think it's so amazing. Red Dead aged well, but I do think now...
It's a little rougher, but it's just that it's the legacy and the story, I think, still looking back, that's still one of the most affecting stories for me, which is why I still would hold it as my favorite.
Right, although you have not finished Red Dead 2, is that right?
Yes.
That's embarrassing, because I think that has a huge impact. Because I look back and I think Red Dead 2 is just better than Red Dead 1 in every way now, which I never thought I would have that opinion.
Coming around on that house, huh?
Yeah, it turns out that was really fun. I'm glad it was stretched out.
Having played Red Dead 2, this house, very important.
All right, what a beautiful year. Also, Enslaved probably would have made my top 10. Yeah. Blur, there's a chance that would have made my top 10. And Peace Walker came out that year, which is like, that's weird not to have a Metal Gear on my
that
list.
game is that game is like almost proto Metal Gear Solid 5 in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's the game I always think of as better than Portable Ops.
Yeah, I mean, by like that game is like surprisingly large in scope.
Yeah, for sure.
For a PSP game.
Yeah. My one other weirdo that I wanted to mention was Dance Central. Played the hell out of Dance Central when that game came out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Good shout out.
We should also mention that God of War 3 came out.
That's on my list. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Does everyone have that at the top of their list, a Game Informer?
Quite a few.
Oh wow.
It's number 5 for me.
Yeah, that series, it would take a couple more years before it got good in my mind. Okay, 2011. Here we go. Number one game of the year.
Freak pick
Joe
do you have,
Danger
Sue?
2. Did that come out?
The movie.
No. My number one game of 2011 is Ghost Trick Phantom Detective.
Okay.
A pick that I stand by.
It's my number 9.
Do you feel like this list would have been different if you had to make it for Game Informer back then? Do you feel like there's a certain level of like public scrutiny that you're scared of?
I actually, other than that, I think this list seems pretty standard. Like the rest of it is like Portal 2, Bastion, Dark Souls, Zelda.
I never cared about sort of like how did you phrase it? Like
public scrutiny or something?
I don't care about that. Like
I've never even when I did lists, I don't think a lot of people said me like, I'm coming to your house to attack you because you said this game was better than this game.
There are certainly things that I do like think about public scrutiny for, like news stories and stuff like that, but not my personal top 10. I would put my favorite stuff on
I don't
there.
think I was scared of it. But
yeah. And I think there is that feeling of I need to play more things in order to get an idea if this should be on my list.
Sure. Although in terms of public scrutiny, I remember shortly after I started at Game Informer, I was in a GameStop and just wandering around looking at stuff, poking at plushies and having a good time in my favorite store. And then
the favorite hangout spot, the GameStop.
That's right. And the two clerks that worked there, what are they called? Store people? Associates. They were behind, I thought all the associates got fired. No. They were behind the desk.
Too soon.
Yeah, sorry. They were behind the desk literally looking through the 2010 top 10 list.
Oh. Just complaining about all this?
Ridiculing everybody. And our pictures are in that. And it was the most uncomfortable thing in the world because I was just standing there like, God, I can't imagine they would.
Put on a hat from that you found on the wall. Like
Winter Soldier just sneaking out
suddenly
of there.
you have a hoodie on and you're trying to like do.
But I remember
I'd like to buy a game, sir.
Specifically, I remember them going through like, no one even has PC games on their list. Like, these guys don't know anything. And then they literally said, I guess this one guy has StarCraft 2 pretty high on his list. I was like, yes, that's me. I want him through.
Then you can push the brim up a little bit.
Right. It's me.
But it's on number 1, so I hope he dies the most.
Okay, so your number 1 was Phantom Trick.
Ghost Trick.
Ghost Trick, Phantom
Detective.
Phantom.
The best game by the guy who made the Phoenix Wright games because it's
interesting.
I like that game a lot for sure. It's number 9 for me. My name is misspelled here, by the way. Isn't that fun, guys?
What's his name?
You
What's
would
your new
have typed
name?
that yourself.
I don't think so.
Is it Kyle Hillard?
It's just got 1 L instead of 2.
You were new. Nobody
Hillard?
bothered to
Hillard.
Mine was Skyrim.
Yeah.
Skyrim, people.
Yeah, that is one. That's my number.
Oh, you mean Oblivion 2?
Yeah. That's my number 5. And in terms of like public scrutiny, that is the biggest outlier here where I put between 10 to 15 hours into Skyrim. And so I wonder if when I made this list, I had just started it and I'm like, I think I'm going to enjoy this a lot forever. And then just fell off of it pretty quickly. And now it's embarrassing that that's my number 5. It's like, there's no way that should have been number 5 on my list that year. That's a mistake. Still love Skyrim. Think it's aged well?
Yeah. Well, I mean, aged well is a question. I went back to it not too long ago, but I went back to the, updated Xbox One X version.
Yeah.
It's still rough, but especially for the year that it came out, for 2011, I still feel like that was really good.
Yeah, you played it and you were like, this is the best RPG ever made.
Wow, that's all.
What else?
Right.
Do you have any other weirdo picks on there? Batman.
Yeah, number 2 was Arkham City. Number 3 was Dead Island.
Oh yeah.
Which I still really like.
Oh, you have Dark Souls.
Portal
on there.
2, yes. Yeah. I question that.
You had Dark Souls on there? Why do you think you had it on there?
I'm sure I played a couple hours and was like, this is good, but at that point,
kind of thought you were going to be a bit more.
I must have just started it because I have it above like Uncharted 3, which seems dubious.
Questioning your past self.
Yes, questioning my past self. Yes.
Yeah.
Is somebody going in and modifying the list after the fact? Is that what's going on here?
No,
Not literally.
Not literally.
I mean,
Yes.
I think that's part of the fun. Is like saying, I think this is how I would change it now, right?
Oh,
like
yeah, for sure.
Looking at mine,
because I fell off of that. I'm sure probably like a week after we did
but
that.
that's the tough thing, because you have to get these lists in pretty early, right?
So my number 1, which I think we share, Hanson, is Portal 2.
Absolutely number 1.
With a bullet.
That's my number 2 to be.
That's super easy.
Yeah,
and
that
then
has aged well.
I have Skyward Sword and Dead Space 2, which I think in retrospect I would swap now. I still love Skyward Sword. I 100%ed Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
But I love Dead Space 2 more. I think all these years later.
Really?
Yeah.
So I guess this isn't too crazy, but like no Dark Souls on any of your lists.
No. I actually wrote down my number 10 is not Dark Souls.
Oh,
the other,
it's my number 4.
Shadows of the Damned I have on there,
okay.
which is I love that game.
Yeah.
And then I also my other weirdo pick, I guess you could say, would be Missplosion Man, which I love that game.
Yeah.
That's like far and away Twisted Pixel's best game.
Yeah,
and,
I think
happy to see that on there.
Two weirdo standouts here are like number 7 for me is Kirby Mass Attack. Which is like probably still my favorite Kirby game.
Is that a DS game?
Yeah, it's the one where you controlled like 8 to 12 Kirbys, and the idea was that you were putting them in different formations, and like you were trying to, instead of like bonking on enemies, you just like kind of try to overwhelm them. And there's a lot of really creative mission design. And then my number 10 was a Groove Coaster, which is a iOS game.
Oh wow, I love Groove Coaster
by Taito. Yeah, it's like it has one of my favorite tricks that a rhythm game ever did, where there are hidden notes in the track. So the idea is that it's a mobile game, so you're really only tapping your finger or holding it. And so one of the things is that as you beat a song, you can get a certain score. But if you know the rhythm of the song well enough, you can start tapping in the actual rhythm, and it'll give you bonus points because there are like notes that aren't on the track.
Gotcha.
That if you hit those, you get bonus points. And like I was just playing that on the bus and stuff, like because I was in college, time. And yeah, this was like the one phone game that I played a ton of.
Yeah. By the way, if you want to see all of our top 10 lists instead of just us just lobbing out a bunch here and there, it's going to be on the Patreon. We can make a public post on the Patreon. So patreon.com/MinnMax2Ns. And while you're there, consider supporting us. Look at the tiers. That'd be cool.
You deserve a shout out for your number 3, Hanson.
Yeah. My number 3 in 2011, the game that might even slide to the number 2 at this point. First of all, so Portal 2 is my number 1.
Smart.
Number 2, Rayman Origins came out that year. Fantastic. Number 3, Minecraft. How many people in 2011 at Game Informer put Minecraft on their list? Because probably Adam Beesener.
Not
right?
us.
I played it a lot in 2012.
Okay.
Like it was like January, February, my wife and I really got into it.
It was Adam's number 8.
God, that's
and I bet it's probably not on anyone else's list.
that has not stood the test of time.
Cork reviewed it, and he reviewed it positively. Not on there.
No, yeah, I'm sure.
I think Adam Beesener
we
reviewed
were
it.
so late to reviewing it. Too.
Yeah. Well, because they went 1.0
Yeah,
in
it was
2011.
like the Xbox Live Arcade release, I think.
No, I think it was PC
Okay.
release. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think it came to consoles in 2011. So that was
I guess that's why I played it later then.
Yeah, for
'cause
sure.
I played it on 360.
You were there, Hanson.
You did it, man.
I was there, and to be fair, like I really loved playing just a little bit of Minecraft on PC. Like I didn't go whole hog. It wasn't until just 4 years ago, maybe on PS4, where I really got back into it, and that's when it like locked in as. Yeah. Oh, this is truly one of the greatest games of all time.
I'm laughing because I remember when you were getting into it and you're kind of like, man, Minecraft's really cool, you guys. And I was like, yeah, everyone knows, dude.
Although I feel like I was that voice back then in 2011.
And you were, like, to your credit, for sure, yeah.
Thank you.
My number 10 was Pinball FX2 again, because F you.
Hell yeah,
that was like the first year we were like, you know what, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, editors can complain to me, but this is what I played a ton of in that year.
For S's and giggles, you want to read Jim Riley, former news editor?
No.
You know, this was his year, because number 1 was Dark Souls, and that's really all
There we
you
go.
need.
He was ahead of the curve there.
Yep. Number 2 was Jetpack Joyride.
Which is a great game.
Real quick, Jetpack Joyride. I started at Game Informer like in the sort of like apex of Jetpack Joyride fandom, like you and Dan Reichert just like fighting bitterly over high scores. And I was like, man, this office is really Jetpack Joyride.
The game rules.
Yeah, it's a good.
It's my number 7. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Then the rest of Jim's list.
Arkham City, Deus Ex, Rayman Origins, Portal 2, Shadows of the Damned, Bastion, Resident Evil 4 HD, and Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery.
Weird. Maybe that's not as weird as I remember.
Some of those years were real light for Jim.
Yeah, I remember he put DLC on there one year, which now maybe is a cool move. Okay, 2012 is where it gets to be a disaster.
Yeah.
The other one that seems way off, and I would absolutely correct this, is my number 9 is Super Mario 3D Land. But since then, I've played through that game so many more times, and I love that game so much. It really is one of my favorite Mario games ever.
That was the first year of the 3DS, wasn't it? 2011?
I think
Yeah.
No. It was 2010.
It was
because I bought one before working at Game Informer. I remember.
Oh, okay.
Are you sure?
I
think it came out March 2011.
I'm pretty sure it's. I just because I remember.
You're saying you're
one,
betting
I
your
remember
life.
bringing my 3DS and Street Passing Dead or Alive 4 to my interview at Game Informer.
And what number are you reading there?
February 2011. Yeah, because I started at Game Informer in September of 2011, so it was really there. Okay.
Anyways, 3D Land would be definitely above Arkham City for me at this point.
Yeah.
On this list.
I realize now that I don't have 3D Land, but it's because I only beat it the once. So, and that was before I knew it had the other second half, which everyone says is so much better.
Right.
So I played through it and I was like, this is fine. It's like, to proof of concept for the 3D stuff. And then I played the other half and I was like, oh, this game's actually really good.
Right.
Yeah, I love that game too.
Okay, 2012. Hell of a year. This list I consider, on my part, perfect. Flawless ranking in retrospect.
Not me.
I think I'm similarly confident in mine, which is weird because this was like the one time I only made a top 5. I don't know why, but I basically looked at what I played in 2012 and kind of made the other 6 are basically added now.
Yeah.
But number 1, Mother effing Dota 2.
Oh, sure.
Which was in beta, to be fair. But
cool.
it was in beta the same way Fortnite was in beta. It's still in beta,
It's
right?
out, yeah. I think I wouldn't argue putting that on that list that year for sure.
Wait, is Dota 2 still in beta?
No, but it was it was in beta from 2011 to 2013.
Okay.
So at that point it was like, okay, well I've just started playing, but it's it's in quote in beta. But dude, I played this game more than anything else on this list.
Right.
And that it's basically been part of my life since then.
That's beautiful, man. So no regrets there.
No,
sure?
I think I would. Looking at this list, I would 100% put Dota 2 there.
Do you think on your deathbed though you'll regret playing so much Dota 2?
No, because I've I don't know. It was partially responsible for me starting freelancing because they were looking for we need esports stuff, and then I was like, hey, I've played a ton of Dota 2. Here's an article about matchmaking, and that was the first thing that got put up on a site that people read.
Right.
And so that I made more money from Dota 2 than I did spending it, than I've spent on it. So it's responsible for my career in a lot of ways. So
yeah,
unless things go south from here, I think I'm okay.
Well, you do know you got fired, right, sir?
What?
I can't keep bringing this up.
Then why would there be Game Informer magazines here if this wasn't
This
the Game
episode
Informer?
is too weird. This episode is just leaping through. It's the worst case scenario for what MinnMax is.
It's a little weird.
All right, Jeff.
My number 1,
Yeah.
which I have to change now retrospectively, but I do.
Canceled?
In terms of this list, I will still stand by it. It was Mass Effect 3, which I never hated it.
No
I never
way.
hated
Totally
the
with
ending. I don't hold it against the game that I went online afterwards and looked at the other endings. When I played through that, it was a really affecting ending, and I really enjoyed it.
Do you remember which one you chose?
Yeah, I merged the two.
Same here,
the
same
two
here.
life forces. Yes,
Wait,
or whatever.
well, that's lame.
However, I'm going to crap on this because 2012 we're
Yeah.
in now.
Yeah.
Was the year that Diablo 3 came out, and it only came out on PC, which is why I didn't have it on my list that time. But if we are counting 2012 as the year that Diablo 3 came into the world, and it is still a little weird because the
Auction
game
house
wasn't
era.
great back then. But just looking back retrospectively, the amount of time that I have played and loved Diablo 3, I would say that I would give it to it.
It tops everything else. Yeah. I'm surprised that you're a Mass Effect 3 guy, because this was one of the most bitter debates in the Game Informer office, was Game of the Year betwing XCOM and Mass Effect 3. And
XCOM was my
Neither
number
of which
2,
are on my
yes.
list.
Are you serious? That's insane.
So this is a weird one for me because I don't have XCOM on my list, but I was fighting for XCOM. Just because, it was
Why?
weird.
So you resented Mass Effect 3 for
Mass Effect 3 was I had a good time with it,
Exactly.
but XCOM is doing something interesting and new
Yeah,
that's
it
not
was-
really my
It was
genre.
only a
but-
decade of
Right.
storytelling that came together and culminated in that last adventure.
Yeah. My least favorite of the 3, but absolutely, I still think Mass Effect 3 is, you can absolutely defend the hell out of that
it's
game.
on my top 10. Yeah.
For sure. I just remember making the case with XCOM Enemy Unknown, where I was like, man, the amount of guilt and just emotions I would have over a death or a big choice in Mass Effect 3, I had in a more systemic way,
All the time,
15
yes.
times throughout a run
Just
of
totally
Enemy Unknown.
emergent from
Yes,
the gameplay.
absolutely.
Yes.
I straight up rage quit that game because I was so frustrated by shotgun blast to the face having a 50% chance in missing them there was one mission where that happened 5 times in a row and and I lost half my team because I just consecutively missed so many shots. I was like, no, I'm done. I'm not going to take this crap from this game anymore. I'm out.
We just streamed Ape out. You saw how hard it is to hit an ape with a shotgun. Imagine that's
true.
a mutant.
I was fighting a sea of apes.
The ape mod of XCOM Enemy Unknown.
Is this not this game? What is it?
Yeah. So Kyle, what's your number 1?
Fez.
Oh,
That's
there
my
it
number
is.
4.
Which I love. I totally
that's a
stand
Kyle-
by that. It's a Kyle pick, I guess
Kyle
you could say.
pick,
But the ones that I'm really happy Fez is high, Journey is high. I'm happy that I put 10 million on my list because that's, I think, just my favorite mobile game, period.
Yeah.
Gravity Rush is number 10. The ones that I'm like, I don't know. I have Halo 4 at number 2, which I'm like, I liked Halo 4 at the time, but I don't know why I put it so high. And then
Remember, I went to your house and we played Halo 4, trying to have like a fun LAN party. No offense to you and your hosting abilities, about a 5 out of 10 on the fun
we
scale.
switched to Left 4 Dead 2 by the end of the night. And then Assassin's Creed 3 I have at number 8, which like is the game that like that was my finish line for not finish line, but like that was I like played 1 and 2 in Revelations and 3 beginning to end, and then after playing 3 I was like, man, that wasn't like a satisfying experience. And by the time Black Flag came around I was like, I think I'm good. And then like from then on I've only dabbled in Assassin's Creed. I haven't beaten an Assassin's Creed since 3.
That game didn't crack my top 10, but I'm also an Assassin's Creed 3 defender.
Yeah.
I like
that being said,
I actually really like the story in that game. Like the future like I was more into the future stuff at the time. So like on that end it's really disappointing, but going back to it, like the historical side of that story I think is actually really good.
Yeah.
Also
Sound Shapes, really great game that
that's my number 7
anymore.
Absolutely.
Really great game.
Dan Reichert still gives me crap for crying while playing that game, but I still stand by there is that
emotional.
level, like there's the Beck level where it's all like war themed, and for some reason like this beautiful rhythmic take on like a war-torn city just gutted me, and I probably had a couple beers in me at that point, but still. My number 5.
I reviewed that game for
circle.
my college newspaper, which is like the first thing I'd ever written for them.
Really?
Did you use a review of?
Is it on your 5?
Did
you like it?
No, it's not. I don't know why.
But you liked the game though, right?
Yeah, I do like that game is very good.
But you liked it, right?
But I liked it.
My number 5, Xenoblade Chronicles. I'm happy I played through that. Number 5 seems like the right place to put that thing, even though it was like over 100 hours. I remember that being a slog, and I remember like a friend of mine being like, "There's no universe where you finish that game." I'm like, I'm gonna do it, no matter what it takes.
Is that why you finished it?
I think so. Just out of spite.
I think the best reason to finish a game is out of resentment for someone else. Right?
That's why I beat Resident Evil Revelations 2 on Switch, because Hanson told me I wouldn't.
I still see no evidence that you have.
And that game's good.
Yes, Jeff.
My number 3, speaking of crying, was The Walking Dead, the first season.
Oh, sure.
Same here.
And that I remember distinctly that was a late edition. I finished it up right before we had to turn these lists in, and so it went way up there. And it like I fell off of Telltale games so fast because the formula became so obvious,
Yeah.
But I still look back on that one and think that's exactly where that belonged on that list because that was such an amazing experience.
And I don't think those have aged well, but back in 2012, I know it wasn't the first Telltale game, but like that felt like such an epiphany. Even at the time, it was like these animations kind of suck, but those performances and that writing were so strong.
It's my number 7, and like I remember like distinctly like there's that moment in episode 3 where something real bad happens, and I had to like get up and like I can't deal with this right now. I need to go. I think it was Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna go eat Thanksgiving dinner with my family now, whom I love.
I'm not dealing with this anymore.
One quick shout out is that I have Luminous Electronic Symphony on there, which is not only my favorite Luminous, but probably my favorite Vita title. And I think one of like the low-key biggest like regrets that I have about having worked at Game Informer was when we were trying to build our list of the best Vita games. And I was championing that game, and it ended up not being on the list at all. Because I love that game so much.
That's because it's a PSP game. It's not a Vita game.
Luminous? No, like Luminous.
No, that was
like distinctly like that soundtrack was very different from like what they'd done before, and that was like I think produced by like James Milkey.
Yeah, the thing that I'm saying is like the reason that we pushed back against it, which is I mean frankly like unfair, is because as much as I love Lumines, I just don't think of it as a Vita game. Like that doesn't define the Vita for me.
It's not fair, Kyle.
I'm sorry.
It had I think. A lot of people really like Shining, but Future of the Future, I think, is a better song. That is my other hill that I will die on. But I Dishonored was also my number 2, which I was prepared. If someone would have if you guys would have said like, no, that doesn't count because it was in beta, I would have said Dishonored was my game of the year because that game rules.
Released same day, I believe, as XCOM, which is wild. My number 8, shout out to Mark of the Ninja as well. I still think that's my favorite stealth game ever.
That's my number 6, actually. Yeah.
Wow.
My number 4, Borderlands 2.
Oh, yeah.
Which was the first cover story that I wrote, but still did not crack the top 3 when that came out. I must have already kind of been on the decline with Borderlands enthusiasm.
I'm very curious to see how much you fight for Borderlands 3 for MinnMax Game of the Year stuff.
Don't give me your impressions. Don't give me your impressions.
Shut up.
The other thing,
you brought it up. Number 5, Far Cry 3.
That's my number 2.
Which was such a...
3.
Yeah.
Which seems... Looking back on it, that was such a pivotal entry for that series. And I still always feel like nothing gets back up to like that experience with that first open world experience with Far Cry 3. But
that is actually one of my big like overall top 10 list regrets was not having Far Cry 3 because I like started playing it in January and adored that game.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, this should have been on my top 10, but it came out so late.
Yeah, that game was. I think clearing out outputs in that game never got better than Far Cry 3. I think partially because of that system.
and it was like the first time.
Yeah, it was like completely broken in a lot of ways because so like they're like, oh, we're gonna make it more interesting, and then but they made it not as good because like you could like my favorite thing was to just snipe at people from like perches and stuff, and that was like the first year I think I had Spotify, so it was like the last game that I had like these very vivid memories of like, oh yeah, Far Cry 3, Grimes' first album, and all these other like top of the like best of the year stuff that I was listening to at the time. Like I have such fond memories of killing people to a specific soundtrack with Far Cry 3,
and not even in that weed mission.
Yeah, that's like the worst song in that game as far as I'm concerned. I have Spotify. And then my last thing was that this was the year I discovered The Witcher with Witcher 2, which is my number 3. And I played this. This is like the first one that I played. And then I went back and played The Witcher 1 right after because I was
You played The Witcher 1?
Yeah, I played through that entire game.
Check the big brain on Brad.
I kind of wish I hadn't. But The Witcher 2 is really, really good
that
game.
Really holds up well, right?
Mm-hmm. And the sequel got better.
2013. The sights, the sounds. We all remember 2013.
Yeah, we totally don't have to all look at our notes now.
Oh yeah, this is kind of a weird list
This
for
one
me.
was really
It's a fun
tough.
list.
Yeah.
I think this is maybe the second most stacked year for me in terms of like games that I still hold very fondly.
Oh, interesting. Okay, number 1. What do you got?
Mother effing Dota 2.
Really?
One back to back, baby.
All right.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
This is the game. This is the year that it released, so it was official at this time.
Right.
Yeah, and then I think I want to say they may have had like the Reborn thing where they changed all the UI and there was like a big huge update. But it was like no, now this game is actually out and it's got like mod support and like all this other stuff. And that like they added a ton to that game when they released it. So
Yeah. Jeffem?
Easy call still for me, The Last of Us.
That was a slam dunk. Although I disagreed personally, but Kyle, where are you at?
My number 1 is Tomb Raider.
Wow,
first one?
not Link Between Worlds.
Not Link Between Worlds number 2.
Is that your favorite one of the 3?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is
Really?
I totally agree with that.
and it's funny because I don't know why that. I feel like I guess because it came out the same year, but those games get compared a lot. Last of Us and Tomb Raider, and I do think Last of Us better performances, better story, but Tomb Raider like by a large margin. And Uncharted, I guess, is the other point of comparison for Tomb Raider. I think Tomb Raider is a better, more fun game. Like it's more fun to play. It's more fun to move around. It's more fun to shoot. You know?
You're like a big fan of a sense of place, though, and I feel like that first one is so much more memorable than the second, where it's like snowy, mountainy.
It was also, I mean, you also got to factor in expectations too. We didn't know really. It looked cool. It's like this looks really intense, and then like I feel like they delivered on it, and it like really, even more so than like Link Between Worlds, which I love. Like I love the original, that first Tomb Raider, that 2013 Tomb Raider.
And that was a long haul. I mean, that was a Game Informer cover story back in 2010. And it wasn't until 2013 that they finally got out the door. That was wild. Remember they released like the early, I think it was a Jeff Keighley joint, right? Like the final hours of Tomb Raider where they showed like the early phase of that where it was more survival horror.
And there was like a little Shadow of the Colossus sort of sprinkle in there.
Yeah, I like shadowy monsters and stuff. It was so weird.
That's also the GTA 5 year, which I have that above Last of Us actually. So Link Between Worlds is 2, and then 3 is GTA 5, and then 4 is Last of Us.
You stand by that?
I do. I think I have more fun with GTA 5. I mean, Last of Us is like an intense experience, but like I think the strength of that game is the story and the performances, and everything else is just much like Uncharted, just to sort of propel that element forward.
I super love that gameplay.
Yeah.
Like that survival horror where I was actually terrified of the enemies just in the world.
Because even, I might have played the game on easy, but that's the insane part is that even on easy, the clickers were still one hit kill.
Yeah, I just never felt that like playing that game. It felt like I was just using the super listening ability or whatever that you had, and just like tearing through those guys. It was not like a thing for me. Like it was I remember being super frustrated by the boss fight in that game at the end where you were like in the flaming cabin or whatever with that one guy, and just thinking like this is the most video game thing where it's like here's a dude who you've killed hundreds of, but because he basically has plot armor, and I was just thinking like this is the fact that I'm playing through this is a detriment to the story they're trying to tell.
I'm with you. I think if we ever do a deepest dive, which I totally want to on The Last of Us before the sequel comes out, like I think it'd be so fun to, the story's been talked to death, and we'll talk about it obviously. We'll beat the dead horse. But like I'd love to focus on the gameplay specifically, because that's what I remember when I played that game. It was just like, man, there's a lot of lame stuff. It's like, oh, here's a yellow thing, you can get up this way, or like, all right, let's get Ellie on a little raft and now move her over to this area.
Yeah, like the when you're in the flooded city and you have to like, okay, well, this puzzle, I have to do this puzzle where it's like, if you were in any sort of natural, like, if you were actually in that location, you would not do the video game thing of like having to like bring down a ladder or something like that.
I just think there's more video gaminess to that game than people recollect.
To its detriment, I would argue.
Yeah, you know why that city was flooded,
I still like it. I think it's my number 9, but like at the time, I remember thinking like in terms of like stories told through cutscenes, like this is the best story.
Yes, I agree with you
in a
there.
game.
Yeah,
I had a terrible experience with that where we filmed the spoiled right outside of Game Informer for The Last of Us before I had started it. And so I learned every spoiler about the game through that. And so my entire perspective on that game is pretty skewed and broken. So I remember because of that, I didn't even play it until the following year because I'm like, whatever. So it didn't even crack my top 10. Which in retrospect, I'm so angry because then when I finally played it, I had heard so much about like, oh, this giraffe scene, oh, these giraffes, and like, oh, that ending. I heard so much about those two things. And I think they even made like top 10 moments at Game Informer. And then playing it, I was like, no one fought for the opening for top 10 moments? Like, that still, I think, is one of the greatest openings of all time. And maybe it's because the rest was spoiled for me. But, like, in my mind, it's like that opening is so much more powerful than the giraffes or the ending.
It was
of
like
that
me in
game.
God of War in 2018. Because I think that early scene was so much better than like the one we ended up picking. But I remember I had like a half spoiler on The Last of Us where they were like, I remember someone saying like, oh, the last line in that game made me cry. And I was like, okay, this last line better be good. And it was like one of those times, so it's like, you know what? I can totally see it.
That's tough. Yeah, I mean, because I agree. Like the very last moment of that game is really like, whoa, like that's where but like if you go in with that expectation, I mean, right? If you go with that expectation, it's going to be undercut, and there's like nothing you can do about that.
I had a tough time. I had a more lighthearted year apparently because I had a hell of a time choosing that year between for the number 1 spot Super Mario 3D World or Rayman Legends. I was having a blast. I don't know what you guys were so bummed out about. And I went with Rayman Legends, which I think, especially playing it on Wii U, that's worthy of my Game of the Year slot. That was so fun.
That was just seeing that Mario 3D World and A Link Between Worlds both came out. It's like, oh, this is like 4 years ahead of 2017 when they did the same thing again.
Right.
That was such a fun year.
And speaking of bummer games, Brothers. Which is really high on my list.
That almost made my list.
Number 5.
That's also my 5.
I have BioShock Infinite number 9, which I think I would move that way up today.
Oh, good. I was just
funny
because
I have the exact opposite problem. I have it at number 3, and I think if I played through it, I don't want to find out. I think if I played through it now, it would probably drop down.
Maybe, I think the gameplay probably doesn't hold up as well. But there's so many amazing moments in that game. Where
you got to give it up for the originality too. Like especially, I know people talk about it to death, but the opening several hours in that game, I think, are also just remarkable.
My big weirdo entry is number 10. Picross E2.
All right, buddy. All right.
I think
you like it. It's 2D, Jeff.
Well, at least you got that right.
I think my biggest thing in 2013 was that like Devil May Cry was my number 2. And there was like 2 specific moments when I was making this list. I was like, is it better than BioShock Infinite? I don't know. And there was a moment later on where I was like, is it better than Dota? And I struggled with it for a while, because insofar as you can struggle with a list like this. But I was like, no, I think Dota 2 just barely edges it out. And I would have stuck with, DMC at number 2 now. But like that game is incredible. I love it.
DMC is my number 9. Yeah.
DMC, it's not on mine, but I'm surprised. Yeah. Like it's probably my number 11.
I do want to go back to it after playing Devil May Cry 5, but like I still think it has the best combat
you want to
system.
play a better Devil May Cry, right? Yeah.
I like Devil May Cry 5.
It's fine.
Plenty. It's very good.
A little more indie love. Well, number 3 was Diablo 3, which retroactively I'm moving that to a different year. Number 4 was Antichamber.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a cool game.
Way to go.
Still did love. 5 was Metro Last Light, and then 6 was The Stanley Parable, which was another indie one that...
Number 7 is Stanley Parable for me, and in retrospect, that's insane that it's that low.
Yeah, that's a stacked year. Because that would have been on my list, but
Also, number 7 for me, Need for Speed Rivals.
You freak!
I don't know what the hell happened.
Gen's amazing.
Is that the one with the Tower of police cars?
Nope, that's Most
Yeah.
Wanted, which was my
okay.
number
So-
10 the year before.
Yeah, I also had like a trio of indie games on here that I'm really proud of, like the Swapper, which I really like.
Swapper's really good.
Oh, yeah.
Papers, Please, which I think I hold like it's above The Last of Us, and I think it's because at the time I thought this is the best story a game has told in terms of like telling a story directly through its gameplay. This is like the best story that I've been told by game systems.
Sure.
And then I had Gone Home at number 8, which is a very different version of that. Of like, this is a story that only works because it's a game.
Yeah. Pokemon X, which is number 6 on my list. Like in retrospect, that I had a good time with that game, but now when I look back on it, I just remember that's such a weird transition because like the first game on the 3DS and like that camera, especially in Lumio City, is embarrassingly bad.
I can't believe I'm surprised again that it's not on my list. That is the Pokemon game I have played the most, period.
Really?
Which
Yeah.
one?
Pokemon Y.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. I never touched those games. Like, I think I fell off after like Black and White, and people talk those games up as being like a high point for Pokemon in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot. It was the one that like I beat it and kept playing a lot after and was like hatching eggs, and I don't know, that one just really. I got really excited about that one.
I remember looking at the legendaries and thinking, okay, that's dumb. I'm out. I don't have to. I'm not gonna
one's an X, one's a Y.
I remember I put Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon on my list as number 10, and I didn't put Link Between Worlds.
What?
Which I think was me
Crazy.
trying to just...
Make me mad.
cool.
I think it was a little like angry warning
It was
shot
too good,
to like
right?
you and Dan Reichert or something. Like, I don't know what I was trying to prove, but
Hanson, you also put for number 3 State of Decay.
State of Decay, I love State of Decay. I think
It's on
that's a
Quark's
solid
list too,
number 3.
probably,
I'd probably
but-
put Stanley Parable above State of Decay at this point, but yeah. I still will defend that.
Yeah, where did you guys rank? Well, I know you're answering Henson, but where did you guys rank Mario 3D World versus Zelda?
3D World is 7 on my list.
Okay.
And then Zelda is 2.
Okay, so I have 3D World at 4 and Zelda at 5 because I played that game with my brother, which was like probably
That's
the
a good
ideal
call,
experience, right?
Yeah. I that's another one of those games I 100% complete.
Yeah, except for,
is
like,
that game is so hard at the end.
The
That
last level, it was like 2 days of my brother and I like we have to do this.
Yeah.
And it was like this really like we were tag teaming and it's like he died and I was like we have to keep going
Yeah.
and then I died but he had come back and it was like we did it and then it was
one of my favorite videos like ever that I did a Game Informer was me and Dan Reichert playing through that level and just like how insane it gets and how intense it is. The reason it's as high as it is on my list is because of that last level.
it's too bad that level was never topped.
2014.
Yeah. Everybody's favorite year.
This is one of the worst years in recorded history. Historians, they've considered wiping it from the calendar because it was such a turd of a year.
I will say, looking back on it now, it's like, there were good games in here. There just wasn't a standout like biggest best,
My number 2 was DLC.
Oh boy.
Oh, wow.
For what? What is it?
Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls.
okay.
Yeah,
that's
Reaper of
as
Souls.
far as pieces of
expansions
DLC go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an expansion.
Yeah.
That's my number
first
8.
downloadable
But what's your number 1, Cyril? 2014.
I think you can say I don't think this speaks against my number 1, but it definitely speaks against my number 2, where my number 1 was PT because it was the best game that came out
my
that year.
God.
That game is amazing, and I stand
That
by
demo
it.
is amazing.
My number 2 is Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes. A game that I played 20 hours of actually
Jeez.
because I got every achievement in that game, and one of them is for
Really?
like marking every enemy on that map. And so like there was one moment because they give you like 10 missions or whatever, and one of them is you have to snipe these 2 people, and I think there's an achievement in doing it within like a minute of each other. And like one of my favorite moments of that year was just like I had just randomly found a spot where I was like, okay, hold on. That guy's going to come out of that tower in about 3 seconds. This other guy is already here. So like snipe. I'm done. That was amazing. Like that's the best thing I've done all year.
Yeah,
but that game was like surprisingly good. I get totally all of the complaints about it being super content light and stuff. But
Right.
I got my money's worth out of that game.
I
Remember how the story ends?
replayed it a bunch. Yeah.
No, yeah, that part is terrible. But I think in retrospect, I would have swapped Ground Zeroes for my number 3 pick, which was Dark Souls 2.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
I do Dark Souls 2 as my first like getting into Dark Souls game.
Yeah.
Did it make your top 10?
It did. It's number 4.
Wow.
That was like the big co-op game because I think co-op was never easier in that game because it totally broke that game in a lot of ways. But I played through like most of that with a friend, and
Yeah.
it was like well, this is like a new thing for Dark Souls at the time, which I think at the time it was like everyone was sort of like, there's some rule changes here, but like Dark Souls 2 is like, it's different, but it's not better. But it's like, oh yeah, the fact that they've introduced co-op and made it such an integral part of this game is like super cool.
Yeah. Jeff, I'm number one. What do you got?
Yeah, Kyle, you and me were number one buddies with Shadow of Mordor.
Biggest Lord of the Rings fans in the office.
I feel like even when you put that as number one, it was like, I guess.
It was purely for the Nemesis system, which was so super cool.
I was looking back on it because I knew this year I would be the one that I'm like, I don't know, but I mean, I played the hell out of that game, and it wasn't because it's like I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy. I didn't care about the lore at all. I liked the movement in the world. I liked the combat. I liked the combination of like Assassin's Creed and Batman, and then on top of the Nemesis system, it just made it really cool, and I liked that game a lot.
Remember when everyone was so adamant that people were going to copy that system? Yeah, and it just turned out to be like way too hyper specific to ever implement in most games.
Somebody did a little bit.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Was it Odyssey?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are some games like that, like Rainbow Six or some like Tactical Ghost Recon, maybe something like that.
Oh, really?
Where you kind of get those like much more generic, but we're still kind of specializing people into a hierarchy kind of thing.
Right.
But
it was my number 6, and that was like I have no interest in Lord of the Rings. In fact, I actively dislike it. But like I played through that, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll watch those movies. They're like, how long could they possibly be? But yeah, that game was definitely like, it felt like, oh, next gen is here, but it was like, that'll have to wait another year.
Remember when it was released on the previous generation before, and then like, but there's no Nemesis system in that version? I still am curious what that looks like.
And your number one?
My number one, stand by this, based on this competition, is South Park Stick of Truth. I love that game.
Yeah.
I like sitting in it, just a small, little, lovely experience. Yeah, it was very funny.
In this magazine's spread for the top 10, there's just a big old picture of South Park. I don't know why.
What else you
like of all
there?
Games, I can't imagine that was the lead pick.
No, I think because it was so contentious that year between Dragon Age Inquisition and Shadow of Mordor that they were like, screw it, we're not.
South Park is our our compromise.
We fought about that for a
Does anybody
long
have
time.
Dragon Age on their list?
I don't.
No. Does anyone else have PT on that list?
Okay. And that was still big.
I didn't put PT.
No
I enjoyed
courage.
PT. Yeah. My number 2 is Infamous, which I really love that game. It was
Infamous
Second Son. Yeah, a lot of people seem down on that one, which is I
liked it. I don't know that
I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
You want some more of it?
Yeah, I played the DLC.
I'm debating if this is a good number 2. I think it is. I had Smash Brothers on Wii U. That came out that year. That's my number 2.
Yeah. Number 3 for me.
Okay.
I didn't play all that much of that game because it was on Wii U. It was kind of hard to like get people together for that game for some reason. And then
because people hated you because you owned a Wii U, so they wouldn't come over.
They were like, "What the hell?" I actually didn't start playing. Like I did more like betting on individual matches. That's when I like started like I like all that. It has all these characters, but I didn't have that. I think that also had like the worst single player mode where it just had like the kind of arcade rush through like a small area. There was like no story connected to it.
Well, there's that weird 3DS one, right?
That might have been the 3DS one, but like I remember like
it had like that board game thing.
And that wasn't like super interesting to me.
No.
So like I started like just having friends over and we would all just have like 8 computers play and we'd all bet $1 on each individual character. And so and we'd have 2 CPUs. So if the CPU won, like the pot was basically doubled for the next match. So that we would just play and then I think we did it last year, but we just did shots instead.
Oh, growing up over there, sir. Out of high school
I'm
now,
finally
buddy.
21.
I will call crap on my number 3, which was Hearthstone, which I must have just started playing that. That must have been like I should check this out before, we do these lists
and
or
you
whatever.
loved it because that game has a strong first impression.
Yes, and I fell off of that so fast.
Oh, really?
Never touched it again.
Related to that, I'm embarrassed that my number 10, I would have slid this way up now, but Threes came out that year, which I still think is one of the best mobile games ever made. Like that deserves to go way above effing Valiant Hearts. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kyle, do you have Donkey Kong on your list?
I do, yeah. Number 5, Tropical Freeze, and then Mario Kart 8's on there as well. My sort of and Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is my number 10. Yeah. But my sort of weird, embarrassing. I would move Far Cry 4 up. It's at number 7, and then
it's number 4 for me.
The sort of embarrassing one that like your Hearthstone situation, Sunset Overdrive. I played the first hour. I was so sure. I was like, this is great. This is like Tony Hawk open world, and it's like I just bounced off of it. Like after I put it on my list and like I tried it again. I don't know. It just never clicked with me, which is like weird because I really thought that game was for me. But
yeah. Destiny. It's my number 6. Where's it at for you guys?
It's not. It's actually not on my list.
Really?
Because I played. I think I've said this maybe on this show. I don't know if it was this one or the other one, but I had a really like similar to like XCOM, just a rage quit moment where like I was playing through it. I was grinding. You know, I did the loot cave and all that stuff. And there was at some point I was like level 27, 28, and they were like, okay, we have a raid scheduled for this week. And this is the only slot that someone is missing for, because I was like basically playing with a friend, and he had his clan. It was like their core 6 were always on the same raid. So it's like, hey, if I see an opening, I'll let you in. And at some point they had that opening, and I was like, okay, I'm going to grind extra hard this week. I'm going to put in like ridiculous hours on this game to get to like 28 or 29 so I can do the raid with you guys. And they were like, oh, the guy filled in. We're not going to be able to invite you. And it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm done playing Destiny then. Because that was
and
like
it's all Destiny's fault.
That's right. And it wouldn't be until 2017 that I ever touched that game again.
It was number 7 for me.
Yeah.
Which feels okay.
Yeah.
I guess.
This year also got a beautiful trend starting where my number 7 was Fibbage. The novelty of a Jackbox game you can play on your phone. This seems great.
So that game was released separate from the Jackbox Party Pack?
It was.
Okay.
And so, yeah, because 2014, I believe, was the first Jackbox Party Pack as well. But I think Fibbage in particular, maybe I enjoyed the overall Party Pack a lot, but I wanted to call out a specific game, which I still love Fibbage.
The one that you like the most?
The one I like the most.
Number 9 for me, which looking back, I would certainly move it above Dragon Age Inquisition. But it was Alien Isolation.
Oh, interesting. 2014.
Yeah, which I'm sure if I played it again, I would be annoyed by the same things I was when I reviewed it. But still, just looking back on the memory of it 8 years later or whatever, I really like that.
Yeah. I think the rose-colored glasses for me are pretty strong with that one. It's like, yeah, that game was good. But I think I remember at the time playing, it's like being at the end, it's like, this has gone on way too long. This monster's too frustrating. A lot of these sequences are like straight up bad. But like I remember the sense of place that game had as being like super strong for sure.
Hey, you know what was straight up bad? Remember, this is a deep cut. I think it was like early last year, maybe IGN was like, we're proud to reveal we have an exclusive TV series, and it's Alien something, and it's like the follow-up story to Alien Isolation. And so I was hanging out with a friend of mine who's a huge Alien fan, and we watched all of it, and it was like just basically machinima, like cutting together the highlights of the game, and then at the end of each episode they'd have like a snippet of like the main character, Amanda, like floating in space at the end, going like, I hope I get found. It was the biggest bummer in the world. It's like, all right, I guess we'll just basically watch a Let's Play. Thanks for this hot exclusive TV series, IGN. Though. Please. Jeez. I hope no one's ever employed by IGN. No, everyone does a great job. All right, 2015.
Yeah.
2015. You got yours ready, Sarah?
Yeah. I think the top 5 in this list is like greatest hits level of like good for me. So like number 1, Witcher 3.
Okay.
Number 2, Undertale. Number 3, Soma.
Oh wow.
Number 4, Metal Gear Solid 5, and number 5, Mortal Kombat X. Like those are games that I still like adore with all of my heart. Like a lot. I think choice. Soma is now like one of those games where it's like this has made the fact that this game is like interactive makes its story so much better than it otherwise would be. Like there are moments in that game that only work because of.
Remind people what Soma was.
It was the follow-up to Amnesia: The Dark Descent from Frictional Games. You sort of, I mean, I guess it's not. I don't know if I should spoil the twist, but it's like pretty early on. But it's like the idea is that you're going in for a test for your brain or whatever, and then it's somehow you end up in like a very different environment where you're kind of traversing this underwater city, and like there's a lot of very science fiction-y concepts at play about consciousness and things like that, and like the ways it interplays that into its actual like the things you are doing in the game, I think work really like surprisingly well. I remember the only thing I didn't like about Soma at the time was the actual parts where it was wanted to be a horror game, and I thought like the hide and seek stuff in that game was actually bad.
Yeah.
But then they patched that out. Like you can just straight up play a version of that game where the monsters like completely ignore you.
That's
and you can
right.
just
That's a really fun idea.
So I would like wholeheartedly recommend that game now. I think I probably wouldn't beat Undertale, but I'm I think there was a time where I would have regretted putting Soma over Metal Gear Solid 5, but I think now I stand by that top 3 for sure.
Oh, interesting. Jeff, number 1.
Number 1, I got to do a switcheroo on this one too. I put Fallout 4, which in hindsight, it was another one where I was super into it,
right when you made that list.
Yeah, and I didn't understand why everyone else on staff was so down on it. And looking back now, I understand. It just didn't stick with me. But my number 2 is Bloodborne, which looking back, it's like, oh yes, that
should have been your number 1. Yeah. Kyle, what's greatest hits level good for you?
Batman Arkham Knight.
Number 1.
That's my number 1. I love that game. And it's you kind of either fall on you either like the Batmobile or you don't. And that sort of determines if you adore that game or you hate it.
I don't know, man. I don't like the Batmobile, but there's so much to love about that game.
Oh, I think it's the best Batman game, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I
thought you were a Blackgate man.
The Vita version specifically. Right. I love Arkham Asylum, but I think I liked the Batmobile, so that was my number 1, and then Phantom Pain's number 2, Rise of Tomb Raider, and then I have Majora's Mask 3D as my number 4, which is an interesting one. Like I might even move it up in retrospect because I always liked Majora's Mask fine. Like it was like, I like that one, that was okay, but replaying it on 3DS like really made me fall in love with it. Like it made me love that game so much more than I did the first time I played it on N64, which I think is interesting.
I'm bummed out that, first of all, you weren't here for the stream on Tuesday where we played Ape Out, and number 2, that Outer Wilds didn't win. But I'm happy that we didn't have to play Outer Wilds without you, because I know that's like a game that you see as like something you've been missing out on this year, right?
It is. It's one I need to check in on for sure.
Yeah.
The other, I also want to call out You Must Build a Boat as is on my list at number 5, which I think I said it for 10 million, but I'm going to say it again. That's my favorite mobile game, just like period. Like those 2 games are so fantastic.
Yeah. Number 1, Metal Gear Solid 5, which is a game obviously beloved. I remember taking notes as I was playing it, and just not too long ago, I went back and read through most of those notes, and I think I'm more sour on that game than I am willing to admit to myself.
Well, it became an underdog in a weird way, and you're always an underdog defender. Because like the big argument in the office was like, it didn't really end well. And your argument was like, it did, you idiots.
Everyone's like, oh, you could clearly tell stuff was cut out. It's like, yeah, like they released, or I forget, was it leaked? Where it was like that chapter that felt like it was going to be like DLC, which is like, that was like perfect for a DLC story, but like it still wraps up fine. And everyone's like, oh, the story sucks. And this one's like, there's more story in there than anybody is willing to admit.
I think it's a percentage of the actual game was way lower, which I think is very different for people. Like the expectations were set so
I was annoyed, I think, by the amount people were saying there's no story in this game, versus I didn't hear really any discussions about like the actual lore that they did add and the story that was happening in that game.
I'm totally on board with the story. I think that game is a great story, but I do think it sort of ended on a whimper, kind of, to me.
There's just like the fact that the thing that it worked so hard to answer is kind of so minimal in the grand scheme of things, and also I think it's like it does not have like the array of bosses that you've come
for sure.
Totally, I think like that particular spot of it, I think is like maybe the worst like group of bosses you fight in that entire series.
And I understand like a lot of people were so put off. I remember Joe Juba in particular was so annoyed by like the Emmerich story, right, and like building up the Metal Gear, and like the fact that went nowhere. And I totally understand that, but I think that has become just like this definition of the structure for that entire game, which I think is
still a great Metal Gear game. For sure.
I S-ranked every mission in that game. Like I spent a ton of time in it, like there. I remember like the first 2 hours being super great, like super good. And then
I hope you really liked them a lot.
Yeah.
Was that one of your notes? Well, I'm glad I don't do that again.
Yeah, exactly. No, I like that intro.
I love the intro. I just didn't love doing it again.
Multiple times.
Yeah, I just remember like the first time that you realize what that game is like, oh, it's like open world stealth where there's so many different approaches, and you're walking by those little villages and you see them again, and it's like, oh, I know this location. It's kind of interesting, but now I'm taking this different path through them and like sneaking by a lot of that stuff. Like I think that game opens up really well, and it was like, it seems like in retrospect kind of influential to like a specific lineage of games since then. You
think so?
Like we have, I mean, obviously everything went open world, but just the ways that it's like, okay, we're going to create situations in this open world that are like these little self-contained like areas where you can approach them in specific ways where they feel a little bit more tailored within this large area.
Don't you think that Metal Gear Solid 5 kind of took it from Far Cry 3 in a way?
Yeah, but I think
I think the drop-in nature of Metal Gear Solid 5 makes it feel different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of like, you're going to go to this section for this mission and then you're going to leave.
Yeah.
You know, like.
And like the PC version is clearly the best one because it's the one where you could mod all the sound files. So So I could like write in on my helicopter to Killer Mike's Big Beast instead of anything else.
Right. Absolutely. Let's see. My number 2, I don't think anybody's mentioned this yet, Rocket League. It's 2015. I will stand by that. I think that's holding up well throughout the years, right? I'm cool, right, guys?
That's right.
I have good taste. My number 6, also, just to complete the trilogy, Legacy of the Void, StarCraft 2.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're a liar.
Oh,
That's
really?
number 7.
Correct.
Your
you're
number
right.
6 was Splatoon.
Look, I was trying to hide that. I'm very embarrassed.
By Splatoon?
Somebody wrote in this week saying, like, by the way, Splatoon, turns out it's a play on the word platoon. Like, they just realized that, which is fun. Like, it's a genius name.
It's a play on the movie, actually.
That's right.
Until Dawn, Broken Age, also those years.
I put Until Dawn at number 8, and number 7 was Helldivers. Which
That's
is
a
very
twin
wrong
stick
going back.
co-op
Yes.
shooter, right?
That was fun, though. And that was especially a fun one to play as a group together because you had to input the commands to, like, revive other people, which is a fun system, especially when you're sitting right next to somebody in an office playing it. You know?
Which I'm sure we did a month before we made these lists.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of times when you pick something at random. It's like, oh, at the time it was very good. And then, like, by the end of it, it's like, maybe this was very fun in the moment that I had with it, but I just never think about it outside of the time I'm playing it.
We should mention that The Witcher 3 came out that year.
He's got it.
Oh, you mean my number 1 game? And a game that is number 6 on my greatest games of all time list?
Yeah,
I put it at number 4, which is a lie, I think, looking back. That was another one that I had started at that point.
Really?
But I bounced off of that pretty early.
Do you want to do a deepest dive on it before Cyberpunk comes out?
Hell yeah. How many episodes?
2?
All of them.
Okay.
100 episodes.
The first 100 hours.
Yeah.
I was actually looking over it because Witcher is not on my list. And I was like, how many of us did not have it on our list? And it looks like it's Yumi and Andy.
I didn't have it on the list.
Yeah, and I think there was one other, Mike Futter, it looks like. But I mean, everyone else was either 1 or, it was
warranted.
Another inconspicuous one that's missing from all of ours, maybe Surreal, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, where we all just been done with Assassin's Creed at this point?
I don't like that game, actually. Like, that was the game where it's like, if they don't change something, I'm done with this series.
Yeah, this game reminds me too much of Mass Effect 2. Therefore, let's get it out of here.
Is that really what you think? Or
no?
It's just because like a lot of the like side objectives of like, oh, do this and it'll like you'll get the bonus thing, and it's like I never want to replay this mission again. So it's like I'm going for this bonus objective, and that made it like way too punishing. There were so many like fail states in all the missions over those games where it's like, oh, you've trailed too far behind this person. Like you're gonna have to start this whole thing over. And like the combat was interesting, but it wasn't like it didn't feel super different. It just looked really flashy, and the fact that you were unlocking levels and stuff, it's like, oh, this is a level 2 area. You can't go there because you're level 1. Like I think the way they mapped out that area, I think is like straight up not good.
But you have like a hook shot though, right?
Yeah, but that was like the best part of that game. But it also was like, okay, at this point, you're just giving me a cheat code for like what is the best part of this game, which is like the part where you're climbing up buildings and stuff. So
that game's always been on my like backlog of like if I'm in the mood to play Assassin's Creed, not like modern Assassin's Creed, but like classic Assassin's Creed, that's the one I would go back and revisit. You're saying I shouldn't do that.
I mean,
I think a lot of people
I'm in the minority in that like I know Joe Jiba specifically really likes that game, and I know a lot of other people do.
You're not in the minority of Game Informer staff though, because it's not on that many people's lists.
Is it on
I think a lot of people had kind of given up on the franchise at that point.
Yeah, I was one of those people after 3.
It does have a really weird sequence that I don't think I should spoil, but it's like
Please don't.
this weird. It's like, almost
weird.
a side story within that game that I think is like maybe that's the best part of that game for sure.
That sounds weird. Also, shout out to City Skylines came out that year.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Playing that game with the SimCity 2013 soundtrack was the best.
A real weird quick shout out to Guitar Hero Live, which is my number 6.
Oh, what the hell?
Weird.
I super love that game. I like that game more than Rock Band 4 because of like the way that the Rock Band, which is funny because like you can't really play that game now because like my favorite part of it was like the radio station stuff where we just go in and it's like we're just gonna play a playlist of random songs and like I had this weird history with Rock Band where it's like, oh yeah, I know these songs, but a lot of the stuff was like, oh, you know, here's like a bunch of famous songs that you've grown up with, and I hadn't grown up with a lot of those songs. So it's like my favorite part of Rock Band was being introduced to new songs, whereas I think for a lot of people it was like getting to revisit their favorites. And so like Guitar Hero Live was like nothing but new music for me. So I loved like, okay, here's a random new song you've never heard before. You're gonna fall in love with this song because of this game. And there was so much of that, and like the fact that you
Smoke on the what?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, kind of, yeah. Like that was like the first time I was like, oh, here's a really nice bass line in this song, right? And so like I played a lot of that, and the fact that you could alternate between different stations. Like, oh yeah, if you want some heavy metal stuff, you can go to this station. If you want like something more light, you can go to this station. I played a ton of those games. Like I have like. I reviewed it, so I got sent review copies, but I have like the phone version of that game. You can just hook up a Bluetooth guitar to that and just play it on the go. Yeah. But it's like, that's not a thing you want to do. It's not, it's
no one
nowhere near
actually
as
would
good.
do that, but you can.
But you can play like, and I think that game is like, this is only the radio station stuff. So it's like, I'm totally fine with that because the actual like track list in that game is not great. Yeah. But like the radio stuff I thought was like super good.
I'm glad we talked about that more than Bloodborne.
That is my least favorite Souls game, as I've said before.
Is that
like,
right?
Yeah, I think that game scores like the highest in terms of like the world they built. That's still my favorite world of theirs. But I don't like the combat in that game as much as I do other Souls games.
I also me getting into Bloodborne, which is I've played a little over half of it. Like that happened like a year later for me. Yeah, so
I'm glad we talked more about it by just crapping on it a little bit extra before going on.
I mean,
I had one super obscure one that I wanted to call out, which was TIS 100.
Is that a calculator?
No, but it's a super indie game about learning how to program.
Nerd.
And the game starts with you printing out the manual to this fake computer that you are then programming on, which was like gifted to you by your missing grandpa or something like that. But you actually have to, you're like given these problems and you're flipping through like, how the hell does this operating system work? And then you have to figure out how to program all these different challenges. And it was just a super cool, weird indie.
Wow, deepest cut of the day.
Also, just real quick to type a loose thread of this podcast that everyone has been on their edge of their seat about. Resident Evil Revelations 2 is my number 10 for that year because I really like that game.
Yeah?
I would say this, probably the best writing in a Resident Evil game.
Really?
Like the two characters, like the
Barry Burton?
No, the Claire and Lee, I don't remember her name, so obviously it was very memorable.
Right.
But like their dialogue, I thought was like genuinely good.
I guess,
but I also don't have a high opinion of the rest of the writing in Resident Evil games.
I was hesitant. I was like, really the best writing. I feel confident. But then I go through the list. And I'm like,
that's why I feel confident about making that claim is because the rest of the writing in Resident Evil is not good.
3D probably.
Yeah, that's true.
2016.
Let's do it.
Big old year.
That was a good year.
First time I'm on that page.
Hell yeah,
What stuff did you have, Serial?
My number 2.
How did
once
you
again,
embarrass yourself this year?
My number 1 was Mother Effing Dota 2.
Wow.
That was the year they released.
And we let you get away with that.
There was a small amount of contention about that, and I think we had like Andy set precedent of like, well, he had WoW multiple years, multiple times on his list.
I like that approach.
It was also because like it wasn't on my 2015 or 2014 list, but that was the year they released the 7.0 update, which like changed the game like significantly. Like they just basically added Heroes of the Storm to that game in that you have these talent trees where it's like every 10 levels you get like a bonus special skill that is like unique to that character, which like totally turned that game on its head in a lot of ways. But yeah, that was like a significant update, and I played a ton. I played probably more Dota 2 than I did most any other game on that list for sure.
Nice. Jeffem?
Yeah, I gotta redo this one too. My number 1 was Overwatch.
Okay,
that's my number 2.
Which again was a game that I was certainly playing at that time, but I bounced off that years and years ago.
So did I.
Well, of course we all bounced off
and
it
was
years ago.
your number 2.
Did
you stand by that? Did you like it that much?
I did, and I think that's also a little bit of
sounds right to me.
In 2016 is like I played a lot of it in 2016, but now it's a weird thing where like, I can't keep up. I haven't kept up with it at all, but I had a really great time with Overwatch that year. Like it's absolutely great number 2, but then even calling myself an Overwatch fan feels weird, even though it was my second favorite game of the year that year, because it's like, I mean, I haven't poured 300 hours into it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Doomfist plays like, but hey, 2016, I had a really great time playing that with friends.
It's also weird for me because like specifically it was just I must have played like 100 hours of it, and like 90 of them were probably just as Roadhog, and like the rest of it is maybe some Tracer, some Symmetra. But like, I think in my list on the site, I just crossed out Overwatch and just wrote Roadhog as my number 2 because that's like all I played. Because like the hook is so satisfying that I just did that all the time.
So that was my sham number 1. Number 2 was Uncharted 4, which is fine, but I would move my number 3 up to number 1, which was Stardew Valley.
And this is, yes, that was my number 1 as well. And I remember getting crap. If you were listening, Grant Bullimer trying to call me out, be like, Stardew Valley number 1. And I'm so glad that this has aged. Because we played a lot of Overwatch together, but I feel like it has aged correctly throughout the years. That Stardew Valley is absolutely worthy of being number 1.
Now, if I remember correctly, didn't Stardew Valley, that was like a late game, like night before you bumped it like way up your list, right?
Probably.
Am I misremembering?
No.
Okay.
Once you smooched your gal in that game, you're like, how the fuck?
I just remember you coming in one day and like being like, I didn't sleep. I just played nothing but Stardew Valley, basically. Yeah.
The blueberries. Such a good deal.
I remember the very specific argument about the best moment in that game. You were arguing for like the finale of like when you built like some park.
Yeah.
rec
I didn't do
center.
that, but yeah, I probably fought for that.
And Joe was just arguing, no, it's the first time you sell a big crop of blueberries.
Yeah, trying to argue him out of blueberries was impossible. He went nuts for those berries.
Andy McNamara loved that argument.
I also have like 3 really weird picks on this list.
Hear 'em.
Which I'm kind of hit or miss on them. Like number 4, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Blood and Wine, the DLC.
That's great.
Which I think is
That's good.
actually really good. Like it's like 20 hours. It's like a significant amount of
Everyone
content.
treated it like a full game.
Yeah, it has some of the best. I might not be the only person on the staff.
I don't think you were, yeah.
Okay. And then my number 10 was another Metroid 2 remake, which was like a mod. Like someone made Metroid 2 in the Metroid Zero engine, basically.
Right.
And you could play with a 360 controller.
And actually, it got more attention than the actual Metroid 2 remake.
That's right.
honestly.
Honestly, like that's probably why I don't like that game as much as like Kyle, like, which I like that game. It's just like, oh yeah, I played through this game last year, or like, you know, whenever I played through this game very recently, so it didn't hit me as hard as it did other people. And then I have number 5, Anatomy, which was like a very weird itch.io game, itch.io game.
Yeah.
Made by like Kitty Horror Show, and that is like a game that uses like a lot of body horror, like, you know, using the metaphor of a house as a body, and you see that body like get destroyed and like glitch. Like there's a lot of like glitch thing where you open a door and there's another door behind it there. It's a game you can be in an hour and a half, and I remember me and my group of friends, including my brother, got kind of obsessed with it, where like we were just kind of showing it to everyone who would like pay attention to it, and they were like, man, this is super weird. And we kind of got into that game as like this is like a cult, like VHS kind of like, this is the secret we know that is good, and then everyone else is like, you know, they're all normies or whatever.
Anatomy.
But I like that game a lot.
It's like a David Lynch movie on a modded Xbox.
Kinda, yeah. Well, it's only on your PC.
What's your number 1, Kyle?
Inside.
Surprise.
Doesn't probably surprise anybody.
that's great.
A good
Game.
indie year for me, because the number 1 was Inside, and the number 2 is Hyper Light Drifter, which I love. Hyper Light Drifter is
And
so
then
good.
number 3.
Pokemon Go. Played the hell out of that game.
Pokemon Go is my number 3, and God, now in retrospect, I'm like, oh, bump that sucker way down. But you think
Really?
of 2016,
No, that
like
defined
I
that
had
year.
so much fun with that game in 2016.
Yeah.
It absolutely was one of the most revelatory games, probably throughout the entire decade for me. Honestly,
Yeah. Our number
it's just,
4,
I learned to hate it.
We share number 4, Last Guardian, which I feel like has got a bum rap all these years later, but I love that game.
It seems a little high on my list now. Remembering, because
Yeah,
what stands out is, my God, the animation, and then, my God, I'm so frustrated trying to make this jump or climb this tower over and over and over again.
never got
Yeah,
too
the 2
frustrated
moments
with it.
that stand out were like, for me, were like the ending, I think, which is actually kind of strong for me, but like, and like that last puzzle, and then getting a text from you about a solution to a puzzle. I'm like, I don't know how to do
He was
this.
texting me about Inside while he was texting you about Last Guardian.
That's right.
I was stuck
You
in
were double
Pokemon Go
time.
as well. I was locked outside of my house. I was texting Jeff.
I think you
about
literally
that.
sent me a video of your TV of Inside, and like I was trying to
This
get
was
you.
impossible. And in retrospect, I think Inside, which is my number 6, that probably moves up above Last Guardian. It's probably my number 4 then behind Pokemon Go.
Is Inside on your guys' list, Jeff?
Yeah, it was mine number 7.
Okay. Not on yours at all.
No.
Okay. Do you want to rectify that? Do you want to
No,
apologize?
I'm okay. I like that game. I don't. It's not better than another Metroid 2 remake.
I have Picross 3D Round 2. Adore
Okay.
that game. That's really high on my list. Titanfall 2, great game.
Yeah, that's maybe the one game that I would find a spot for.
Oh, yeah.
now
Absolutely.
is Titanfall 2, and
That's
then
a
also
mistake.
I think Dishonored 2 came out that year, and I think those 2 games were like games where I think I had a weird issue with Dishonored 2 on PC where it just would take forever to load, and I could not get it to. Like, I couldn't get it to run, and then I played through it, and I was like, oh, this is actually really good.
Yeah.
Kyle, you put at number 8 The Witness. Is that the year that it came out?
Yeah, I have it at number 9.
Because I didn't have it on mine, and I must have just played it late or something.
That
Yeah.
must have been the case.
Because-
You loved it?
Yeah, because I loved it. I 100%ed that
I just started
Yeah.
that game over not too long
It
ago.
just
actually.
amazed me.
Yeah, that game's fantastic.
I was falling off of that game, and like I was trying to get to a point where I could like say I'm done. So I think it had like 2 numbers that it kept track of. It was like something puzzles plus whatever. So it was a very dumb thing where I just got to 420 plus 69. All right, cool. I'm
beat
done.
it.
I've beaten this game.
That's so funny.
That
You like
post got
me
maybe
now,
two-
Jonathan Blow?
That's right.
Totally in the spirit of what
Totally
Paul was
worth the
going
30
for.
likes I got on Twitter or whatever.
Was Final Fantasy 15? Was that
no,
just
I
me?
didn't play it.
Yeah,
Just you. Where's it at?
Number 9.
Okay.
Which I like that game. Like talking about endings that make you cry.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Teared me up.
That game had like a second half. I'm not familiar with that. And I have it on my Switch, that weird pocket edition thing.
The best way to experience Final
I don't
Fantasy
know. I didn't like the
What if these
combat,
characters were all
so-
chibi though?
Yeah.
That
I mean,
would
if-
make me cry.
If you didn't like the combat, I mean, I liked the combat because it
Yeah.
was more active and borderline action. So that's why,
Right.
like, because I'm not a big Final Fantasy guy, but I played 15 to the end and enjoyed it.
The idea of Amplitude as a number 5 sounds pretty good to me. I would swap some other things around that list, but Amplitude absolutely deserves number 5. on
Is
that
it
list.
because of the Skullgirls song that's in that game, which
That's
is the best
right,
part?
because of the Skullgirls song. A game that I would bump up significantly as well. I'd bump it up for sure above Uncharted 4 is Jackbox Party Pack 3, which I still think has stood the test of time better than any Jackbox. That's
You
the
think
one
it's the
that
best Jackbox?
I think so.
Okay.
Quiplash 2 and TKO are honestly like, it's tough to
Yeah,
top
TKO
that.
is so hard to beat.
I think it has Trivia Murder Party 1 as well, which is also fun if you want a trivia game. I think Party Pack 3 is the way to go for a good time.
Yeah.
Speaking of good time, I was playing Jackbox Party Pack 3 this last weekend, and there's a prompt in there that I know I've seen before, but it's one of those things where it's like, aha, in the moment, and then I spent the next day literally laying on a floor thinking of better answers for this, because it's my favorite prompt. I think it's so funny.
Laying on the
but
floor?
Yes, I was staring at the ceiling going, what is a funnier answer?
Just
'Cause
vibing.
The prompt is, what Abraham Lincoln probably called having sex. Which is such a funny idea. And I'm trying to remember.
Poor scoring.
4 scoring is exactly one that I came up with the next day then. I came up with filling the Cumberland Gap, which I'm very proud of.
Talk about 7 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Keep it going.
We all know the speech. We definitely know after those 2 parts.
Gettysburg ass dress. I don't know.
Well, the one I came up with that I was told was not funny, even though I insisted it was the Gettysburg undress, which I think is
okay,
pretty
that's not
good.
bad. Yeah,
good.
that's fine.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
That's
That's
pretty
what I was
good.
looking for Gettysburg
It's
undress.
better than
if I
ass
had heard
dress.
if I had heard that mode in that joke in context, I think I would have laughed.
Okay, great.
Thank
no
you
way of knowing,
for listening to
unfortunately.
this comedy podcast where I talk about different jokes.
Dick Temper Tyrannus.
A little too obscure. But
I would go with Lincoln log jamming.
What about presidential pardon? Is that good?
Pardon?
Yeah, like a pardon.
Okay,
But
all right.
all right.
Let's move on to 2017.
No, I'm not done with this. In fact, now that I'm laying these jokes out, Jackbox Party Pack 3, you're going up for the top of
That's
the
right.
list.
Oh, beating out Stardew Valley.
Also, shout out to Forza Horizon 3.
yeah, shout out to Owlboy, which is a game that people should play.
Thank you.
I put No Man's Sky at number 9, and I remember we really had to fight to get that on the top 50 list at all.
That's true.
Man, we made a
Because
mistake.
people who hated it really hated it, and I enjoyed that experience.
What game?
No Man's Sky.
I mean, I
never hated it, but I was just like, it's just not. And it wasn't even like the expectation behind it. I just didn't. It was just dull.
I think
to
I
me,
was
you
really
know?
petty with it.
Yeah, I hate exploring unlimited worlds.
Yeah, but they're all randomized.
well,
like I
part
would
of it-
much rather
random
explore an
stuff.
authored
Welcome to
Random
our
stuff I've never
2016
seen
Game of the Year
2017
meeting.
Random
best game of
stuff
the
no
year.
one has ever seen. That's,
Okay,
that's
now
the worst.
Now do the one where you argue about the cross.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah, 3D good,
Greatest
2D also good, but not as good.
I think for like No Man's Sky was definitely a game that's like I knew kind of from the jump that game wasn't going to be for me.
Yeah, same here.
But like it was during those meetings, I was like, well, it's like this game that's not for me. I can kind of push it towards not being on the list.
Yeah.
Which is a bad
Gotta
thing
get that
to do.
weird
Like,
house body game on
I really
there.
should have just been like, abstained.
Is that this year?
Anatomy, yeah.
Anatomy. Okay.
Let's move on.
Don't talk shit about it.
That game sounds cool. I just didn't remember
It's-
what the name was.
All right, 2017. We all remember where we were. In the year 2017,
Nah, where were you guys?
I was thinking about joining the year 2017. Suriel, number 1.
The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna be.
Oh, wait a minute.
I'm
I
gonna
just
be
remember
minority
Jeff
on
was
this
at
one.
this table.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say that Hanson, Kyle, and Suriel.
You're
all
free to give
number
your
one.
incorrect answer.
Yeah. What do you got, dip?
Yeah, no, mine was Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes, the polar opposite of Breath of the Wild.
I've asked you before. You gave it like an 8.75,
Correct.
and I wonder if you. This is a genuine question. Do you feel like you underscored that game? Because I think you did, honestly.
Because you're like, it's too Far Cry.
That is, yeah, and that's another retroactive one where thinking back on it, I would probably give it a higher score. If I went back and played it again, I would probably still have the same kind of complaints.
Sure.
How do you think that
which
works?
were minor.
Break that down
Because
mentally.
you just don't remember how much time I spent, going through bandit camps again, and those kind of, or picking up resources and those kind of things. I just remember the story and the awesome robot dinosaurs and stuff like that.
I thought a lot
You know what I was
about
looking at today? There's a trailer for Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Has a crossover with Horizon Zero Dawn's Frozen Wilds DLC, which really made me laugh because it made a splash when it crossed over, when the base Monster Hunter World crossed over with Horizon. But isn't that weird for the DLC to cross over with DLC and try and drum up enthusiasm for one layer?
We're really
optional
doing
thing.
it, kind
But
of.
it's snow. We can't not do it.
Yeah.
Horizon is on my list. I like that game a lot,
Yeah.
but it was this weird contentious Zelda versus Horizon versus Mario Galaxy or Mario Odyssey kind of thing.
Wow.
It's not on my list, but I think it's because I think 2017 for me had two to use a fighting game term, S tier games, and then a lot of A tier games for me.
Yeah.
So it was just this was a really hard list to put together because there were so many good choices. But I think my number 2 is Wolfenstein 2, which is a game I absolutely adore. And I think the one thing I would change, I think, is Pyre. I put in at number 9 before I finished it, but kind of I don't know, maybe close out poorly. I don't know. I'm kind of putting it low on my list, but that game closes out super strong. So I think at this point, I think that would be my number 3 over Night in the Woods, which I have at number 3 right now.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, Night in the Woods, number 4. I still absolutely love that game. Weird to look at in retrospect. Remember that thing that happened earlier this year that no one wants to talk about with Night in the Woods?
Yeah.
That was a weird, dark legacy to that game now.
But I think, I don't know, I still have really fond memories of this game. Probably my favorite writing in a game.
I think
ever.
I'm probably with
in terms of pure dialogue, I
you.
think the most natural sound, stuff that just does not sound written.
Right.
A couple of mentions where it just feels like it's maybe a little bit too online, but I think everything else, for the most part, that story works so surprisingly well.
And on that front, I always bundle these games together, and this is my number 6. But What Remains of Edith Finch, I still think is amazing, and I think it was free on the Epic Game Store for a while. That game is so unique. And
I love that game. It's on my list.
That was
for
my
sure.
number 7.
Oh, good.
Some weirdo ones for me. Heat Signature, number 9, which is a cool game. Little Nightmares, which is kind of like Play Dead, sort of. But that was the year that I had, I put Hollow Knight on my list. And that was I kind of came to it late and really fell in love with it. And it was one of those things where
Was that the Switch port, or was that
No, this is the original.
This is the original, and it was this argument where we were this should be on top 50, and I think I had other people advocating for it, but it didn't make the list. And
not enough people played it?
Yeah, and it was one that I feel like a lot of people came back to later when it came out on Switch.
I feel like the entire industry was oh wait, no, Hollow Knight's a classic. It's a great game now once it's on Switch.
Yeah. I mean, there was it was sort of like Demon Souls, where when Demon Souls came out in Japan, people were this is amazing. And people in the States were whatever. It's some weird obscure game from Software. Who cares
Except for
about
Jim
them?
Riley, yeah.
Yeah, and then it came in Stateside, and it's there's another wave of oh, this game's actually really good. And then it won Game of the Year from GameSpot.
Yeah. So Hollow Knight did eventually find that audience of people that really loved it, but it took a weirdly
and then
long
there was me
time.
who played it on half of it on Switch, and then I lost my Switch, and I'm not going to go back to that game.
Yeah,
that game is very difficult and kind of. A lot of it is revelation of new areas and stuff, and so going back through it again, it's just not something I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing we can all agree on, though,
Yeah.
Super Mario Odyssey. It was my number 2,
It's my number 3.
My number 2.
It's not on my list.
and that's
It's on your list.
That's everyone's favorite.
That was the Thank you for reminding me of all the frustrating conversations in the game forum.
Yeah,
debate about everyone likes Odyssey, so therefore it should be number 1. It's that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. You can't just find the lowest common denominator of everybody agrees on this. That made me mad.
It was definitely there was a really strong contingent of Zelda people, and then I think the other side of that debate was people who just did not like Zelda.
I think the
and were
names were
looking for
Jepham
the
and
best
Joe.
alternative. Yeah.
Number 2, which in retrospect, I think it's a good number 2. It was definitely climbing, and I considered putting it above Breath of the Wild at the time, is PUBG. Just because I had so much fun with PUBG, playing with friends and stuff. Like, I don't think a game throughout the decade has maybe laughed maybe as much as, well, Jackbox. But like, I had so much fun playing PUBG. I just watched, like, on Dan Reichert's YouTube channel, he has this clip of when it was Dan and his wife Bianca and Vinny from Giant Bomb. It was the 4 of us playing. And like Vinny pulls off this insane maneuver where he like kills multiple people with a car after Bianca was chasing him. It is the funniest effing thing. And like, it's just a series of those moments. Like every time we played, I just had a good big glass of wine and just laughed like a maniac.
Yeah.
So fun.
I think even, as someone who never really jived with like PUBG, it does even in retrospect feel like the one with the most capacity for like emergent moments. Because even like Apex feels like so refined, but it is a game about being good at that game.
Right.
And Fortnite is a game about being creative in terms of building stuff. But I think PUBG has like this weird element of like, oh, some random crap can happen like that. You didn't really have a whole lot of like involvement, but because of the physics and the way like a lot of the gun trajectories and like the way that map is laid out, that can lead to these like kind of one-off battlefield moments in a lot of ways, which I don't think like a lot of battle royale games since then have done.
Yeah.
But I'm not super versed in the genre, so I don't know if that's like my read on it from
Not versed in the genre.
Well, like
that's surprising to me.
Like I never played the Black Ops one.
Yeah,
like I think Apex is the only one that I've really put any serious time into.
Okay. Hey. All right, buddy.
Yeah. Quickly, shout out Resident Evil 7. It's my number 3.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
It's great.
Weird shout out to HQ, my number 9.
HQ. Is that where it's going?
I remember visiting Kyle's desk for a few days.
We'd all play HQ together.
Yeah.
Like a family.
Yeah. And as a blank check would say, my number 5 is a game that does not exist. No one has talked about it since it came out, which is South Park: The Fractured But Whole, which I still think is a great game. It starts so slow, and I think poorly, but I think it's awesome.
It has a really good ending, which is like a tough thing. You don't hear that with South Park a lot.
No.
Great ending.
It pulls off the larger story so much better than Stick of Truth, which just is a S show by the end.
I think I have Destiny 2 on here at number 8, which is I think is appropriate now since like that was the state that game was the worst in.
Yeah.
I think maybe I would have tried to like put Destiny 1 on this list because I played so much of that. Like I did all the raids and stuff in Destiny 1. But I do want to give a shout out to For Honor, which I think is still like a really is like, I know it had server issues when it launched, but that game, I think I see another timeline where I get into this the way Leo got into Siege, of just like, here's a game that it has such a strong community, like slowly growing over time and like becoming really, I don't think it's as robust or like as well supported as Siege.
No.
But it is still getting support. Like it is getting regular updates. It has become another one of those games.
Yeah.
And in terms of melee combat, it is maybe the most original, like, oh, here's this 3-way blocking system, and like the way it mixes that stuff with like an arcadey kind of like tug of war, and like even on Hansen has a question?
Yeah. Did you play Mordhau this year?
No, I didn't.
Seems like a mistake.
Yeah, that's true. But like, I also remember like I tried launching that game once, and it like just did not click with me, or like. I had issues running it. Yeah, like the option, like the game would not run on my computer for whatever reason.
It didn't click with you because it didn't boot.
Right. That's what I meant. Sorry.
Those are different things.
But like, I think For Honor is like, it was a game where I started getting really into the 2v2, and I remember, I saw that pit of like, oh, I could get really into this game, and kind of like, I have other things to do, but I have a lot of fond memories, and that game is kind of quietly very successful.
Yeah, for sure. 2018. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. The year of years. The king of kings. I have still been debating in my mind for 1 year now whether I made the right call by putting God of War as my number 1 and Red Dead as my number 2.
Yeah, okay.
I can tell you I did not make the right call.
Yes, yes, Jeffem?
Yeah,
God of
you
War
didn't right. It's Red Dead Redemption 2 was the correct answer.
So I did it wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so you're saying Red Dead 2 should have been?
Yeah, you said you've been debating this whole time about whether you did it right or not, and I'm telling you, no, you did it wrong.
Oh, I see. But you haven't finished Red Dead 2.
Yes.
So you're also doing it wrong.
The sense of scope and world building and everything else in that game, like God of War was number 4 on mine. I absolutely appreciate what an amazing game that is.
Yeah.
But just it
doesn't sound like it.
It seems absurd
Sounds like
to
you
me.
hate it.
Just the size and ambition of Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah. But
quantity doesn't equal quality, though.
And absolutely,
Yeah.
But it is quality too, Kyle.
I say this as someone who has Red Dead as number 1 on their list.
Oh, really? Real quick, yeah. What do you have, sir?
I have God of War, which I regret, but
Really?
not
You
because
regret?
of Red Dead. It's just like I think at the time, I like God of War more than Red Dead 2, and I think I stand by that because of my problems with Red Dead. But like, I think I probably would change this list pretty significantly because I completely forgot about Tetris Effect. Like
sure.
It was on my list of like, okay, here are my considerations, and let's see what it looks like if I delete Tetris off here, and I just forgot to add it back at some point. But I think if it's like my top 5 are God of War, Dragon Ball Fighters, which I think would stick up there.
Yeah.
Destiny 2 Forsaken, Red Dead 2, and Soul Calibur 6. I think at this point I would add Tetris. I would
Wait, where would you put Tetris?
I would put Tetris at 3. I would have Destiny 1. Destiny 2 would be number 1. Dragon Ball Fighters would be number 2. And then Tetris would be number 3. God of War would be number 4. And Red Dead would be number 5.
Okay.
But because I think like I do totally get you in that game is incredibly ambitious, Red Dead, but it's funneled through like every mission in that game is just like, well, let's go make a delivery. I have to go visit the general store. Oh no, there are 40 guys here that I have to shoot.
Except for the one not the one memorable mission, but that mission early on where you're drunk in the bar and you think it's going to go to a shootout. Then it doesn't, which is such a fun twist. But I agree, Jeff, ambition, I'll give it all up. I think best story in games, I'll go with that. Best voice acting in games, right there with you.
Best everything.
And not to the level that Dan Reichert would say, but still, every aspect of gameplay I was not a fan of. Like, shooting in that game
is like,
that is where we differ because I enjoyed all of that as well.
You don't deserve an opinion because you didn't finish that game. So you can go cram it up your butt.
But it is, the shooting that game just feels so like not like it's not actively terrible, but like the act of shooting that game does not feel super satisfying either.
I guess I'm with Jeff, and it didn't bug me too much because it was in service to like just making it feel like weightier and heavier. Like
to me,
it's not the controls.
It did not bug me though. I actually enjoyed it, which was an argument that none of us who were rooting for Red Dead in the office could ever get through everyone else's head. Everyone was always like, yeah, I mean, we agree that it's okay and whatever. And it's like, no, we effing like this. We enjoy the gameplay.
Like the
but
combat
that's the thing is that you guys,
I like the combat.
You guys, I don't think articulated that very well.
Yeah. Tell your game clock.
No, we repeated it so many times.
What's your number 1, Jeff?
Yeah, I watched a couple YouTube videos for Subnautica, so that's going to be my number 1. I'm Jeff.
Dude, I put like 40 hours into it.
Great, you're like halfway done.
It's just, I wasn't doing story stuff. I just enjoyed living in that world so much that I never progressed with the actual story, which I understand is a bad thing.
Yeah.
But still.
You've had a year.
All of these stuff that I enjoyed about it.
Hey, Jeff, all I got to say is proof's in the pudding. Hey, Serial. This proof's in the pudding.
What's your number 1 though, right?
Hey,
Red
Kyle.
Dead. Yeah? Hello?
Proof's in the pudding.
Okay, yeah, I'll look into that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case.
I actually, so Red Dead is my number 1, and God of War was my number 1 for a long time, but it was in the final hour finishing Red Dead Redemption 2 where it was just like no contest for me. As much as I loved God of War.
No contest.
Yeah, I love God of War. I love like...
Print that
Shut
quote
up!
out.
You're not allowed to say that and back him up with that. There's no doubt masterpiece. But I was listening to an interview with Bear McCreary, the composer for God of War, again, and just remembering... Just that soundtrack alone would have been number 5 on this list. And the fact that gameplay is so solid throughout, I think the storytelling is so amazing. And, you know, this is very dumb and personal, but to go from actively disliking a series to now one of my favorite games of all time, realistically, I mean, that is just unthinkable in my mind. That is such an achievement on behalf of Santa Monica there.
Yeah, they did a good job on that game.
Yeah, no S.
There's a lot of like, I mean, it still feels like of like these kind of prestige games that Sony has put out, like The Last of Us and stuff. It feels like the most video gamey, and that it's like there's just straight up a boss where it's like you got to hit the glowing weak points in a lot of ways, but like
or the part with the axe, like hit all the tentacles and that's certain.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of video gamey moments.
God of War's number 4.
I know.
On your list.
I super liked it, and that's why I hate this argument.
Red Dead 2, number 2,
because we all spend
like it more,
the entire
though.
time crapping on the other game, which is like number 2 on everyone else.
I also remember even as someone who was like, yeah, Red Dead is like great, but God of War is better. I don't remember there being as much debate as I expected. which I wasn't there for one of the days. But
there was
because
not.
we
It was
didn't
a-
do a debate.
That
Was
is
the
very
problem?
correct.
Yeah, I was frustrated by that.
even as someone who was like benefited from it, ostensibly, I was like, okay, maybe
Jeff,
it should have been a little.
explode.
We did a hand vote. And
Which many of us were not present for.
For the first time, the hand vote counted. And it was like, well, we'll talk about it later. And then we came back around someone's desk at like 6 o'clock, so half the staff wasn't there. And then it was like, oh, well, people aren't changing their minds, which also they did as it continued going on.
I was one of those
I
people,
think,
yeah.
Yes, I think that might have been a mistake in retrospect. I was annoyed because I love Red Dead 2, but I like God of War more. And so I was happy with that being our game of the year, but it was one of those situations where like Red Dead people are not standing up, and it's frustrating to see. Like I want
they
to
weren't
see a
given
fight
a chance.
here.
Like, it was a combination of like they didn't and they weren't
Yes.
given a chance to.
There was one opening in particular I remember, and it's like, all right, there it goes.
But like the fact
was
that,
it.
that it was reduced to like either
Yes.
you say your like say your word now or not, like that
Look,
was a bummer.
This is not Vent About a Game Informer podcast. No. This is Cherish the Wonderful Memories.
Also,
Spider-Man was good.
Spider-Man, yes. Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man I enjoyed more than God of War.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's crazy. Spider-Man did not crack my top 10. And I
did
like
not
that
crack
game,
mine
but
either.
yeah.
But a lot of good games.
My number 4, above Smash Brothers and Shadow of the Colossus, Beat Saber, Astrobot, is Iconoclast, which is like that game that I still...
Have you mentioned that before?
I don't think so.
No,
Have
I
I
know.
talked your ear off about it, Cyril, and how good the ending
It's on
is?
Switch now.
I really should talk to you more about Owlboy then, just to
Yeah.
balance this out. Like, look, there's a moment. It's gonna sound dumb.
It's on my Switch. I bought it.
There's a moment I don't
played
want
the
to
first
spoil,
hour
but
or
there's a
two.
moment in the game. It's very good.
That I would work with. All right.
The one I regret here is I'm looking forward to the expansion coming out soon, but Jurassic World Evolution's number 6 on that list. I think it's a little high.
Yeah.
I think it's a little high. That was definitely a game that I
Time and
enjoyed
place.
a lot, but in retrospect, maybe Dan Tack was a little bit right. I'd put Dragon Quest XI and Subnautica above it.
Dragon Quest 11 above it, huh?
I just
Yeah.
like to have a quick shout out to Artifact, rest in peace, my number 10. Yeah, big one.
Love you, buddy.
Throw a card away.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
A legend.
2. As
2.
well.
That's your number 2?
No, it was my number 3.
Oh, okay.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey also.
Yeah,
There
I
we go.
still need to play that Discovery Tour mode. Would you want to do a bonus video at MinnMax where we just go through that Discovery
let's
Tour
do
mode?
it.
All right.
And
Learn it all.
guess what number it was for Leo?
number 1.
One.
That's what you would think, but it was number 3. But the ones that beat it, Red Dead 2 was his number
Oh,
1,
that's true.
and
That
number
makes
2 was Hitman 2, which makes
Oh,
perfect
that's
sense
right.
for him too.
There we go.
That was a good year for Leo.
Good Leo year.
Year of the Lion.
How wound up are you thinking about those debates, Jeff?
I don't care anymore.
Yes, you clearly do.
I don't know why. There's something about it that like I'm with you, Jeff. I'm like it's frustrating. I don't know why.
I
you
will
know?
say though, a bigger regret for me was the fact that Detroit Become Human made it onto our top 50. That was the one.
right.
Even though like I won the God of War one, but like I feel like I lost that year because Detroit made it on. That was the biggest
so
debate I
funny.
think we had that entire year was whether Detroit was
That
going to
was
make
a
it on that
tough
list
one,
at
yeah.
all.
Good looking game.
That's it. That's all that game has. Oh, it's so
And the arguments from the people who were fighting for it was like, yeah, I mean the story's crap, but
you get a lot of choice, and it all leads to bad storytelling, and like the way you
Yeah.
manipulate choice in that game can just lead to super inconsistent stories that make no sense. And it's like a lot of the race allegories and a lot of the
See,
they're
now it's-
actually
now
trying
it's
to
getting
tell
to
you
him, too.
is super like it's actively bad. Like
Yeah.
I think the world is worse because that game is in it. I think it's so bad.
So where was it on your top 10?
Oh, number 9.
I remember being annoyed with you though, Jeff, because you were fighting so hard for it not to be on top 50, which is fine, but you
Based-
had not started it.
Yes,
and that's
but
the
it
part
was-
that I thought is BS.
and it was based on what the proponents for that game were saying about it, and like that they would give so much in the conversation of like, yeah, oh god, the racial allegories are just embarrassing, but it's David Cage, so
You can go right, left, or in the center. Like, and also, like I started that game. It's like I'm not going to finish this, and I said there was a thing in the back of my mind. I need to finish this because otherwise I will not have a leg to stand on during these
I'm glad
arguments.
that some of you
Right.
were
and
willing to do
I
that.
hate
Made
beat
the
that
sacrifice.
game. Oh god, the part where they mention an underground railroad for androids. Oh my god.
That was perfect. But going back to your question about how much it actually bothers me,
Yeah.
like this was the thing that I figured out a couple of years, like 3 or 4 years ago, was I just started making my own effing awards with Funny to a Point.
Oh, right.
For that
That's
and
true.
for the E3 top, whatever. Every year after we made these infuriating lists, I would just make my own list of funny categories and stuff. Yes.
That's smart.
It was my way of
reminds
coping.
me of our game of the year for 2019.
Yeah, you ready to have another argument
Yeah,
about that?
kick it off. Suriel, what is it? No. Say it, please. So we're going to be making categories again. We're going to be taking that good-spirited debate and moving it forward into fun categories for gaming in 2019. So we've been a little bit cryptic. Some things are still a little bit up in the air, but the way our Game of the Year stuff will work here at MinnMax is we're going to record our debates. That is going to be the next 2 weeks of podcasting is the plan. So next Thursday, we'll have categories. We'll air that episode. So that's going to be like biggest news stories of the year, and then hopefully some fun suggestions. If you have fun ideas for like novel categories,
please.
like, best guy wearing a blue shirt in the year 2019. Like just things
Best
that
minimalist
better
game
than that,
featuring
but
an
yes.
animal going on some sort of like wacky adventure that has to do with bothering humans.
Exactly. Honestly, best animal of the year is pretty solid, right?
yeah.
We'll write that down. So please leave a comment, or obviously you can leave a comment on Patreon, patreon.com/MinnMax2Ns. Also a reminder, if you want to see all of our top 10s throughout the years, check out patreon.com/MinnMax. It'll be public, so you don't have to support us, but it'd be really generous of you if you did. So next week is going to be categories. It'll be fun. It'll be silly. Some serious. Some goofy. And then the following week after that will be the Game of the Year stuff. I don't know if I want to spoil the structure for it, but it's going to be a list. We're going to rank, and it's not going to be like a top 50 like a Game Informer thing. We're actually going to do a little bit more than Giant Bomb style, but extended, of having a list, and then we all have to agree on the number one Game of the Year. I genuinely don't know what I'm fighting for or what we're all going to agree on.
I feel like I have a pretty
it's a good
personal list, and I'm really happy with it. But like in terms of like, because there's always that split when you're doing top 50 stuff of like, it's my number one, but like I don't know if I'm gonna like fight for it as Game of the Year, because like knowing the people here, there's no way Dragon Ball FighterZ is the Game of the Year of 2018, but it is. But so you have to like, I don't know how that's gonna, how those two things are gonna end up happening.
And I've got some games to play in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, what are you
to
gonna be
get
playing?
some time in. Well, I don't want to say because I don't want to tip hands. They
Really?
are Game of the Year contenders that I think you guys might be.
Why would you
arguing
say?
For.
Yeah, you can say.
All right, Resident Evil and Control.
Oh, well, just
Okay.
spoil it. Damn. No, yeah,
I want to
absolutely.
play. I still want to play Darksiders Genesis.
And I have to play more Death Stranding too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have to play Darksiders Genesis.
I want
the reviews
to.
hit. They don't seem
Well,
Yeah, they seem okay, right?
don't feel time crunched. I think there are maybe other things you should prioritize. You haven't finished Death Stranding, right?
No, I got to chapter 5 last night.
Yeah, you have a waste.
I want to keep playing Death Stranding, but at the same time, there's no chance
in.
it's going to make.
It feels. That one feels iffy to me.
Yeah.
As opposed
I mean,
to some other stuff.
I'm like hooked in. You know what I mean? Like that is the game that I'm playing right now. Like when I have time to play a game.
Yeah,
'Cause-
Yeah.
so, for
I-
sure.
I'm in a weird
it's,
spot 'cause
it's
it's
getting
like-
better and better the farther deeper I get in.
All right, let's save it, guys.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
You're right. Okay, but in terms of what I want to play, I at least want to start Disco Elysium.
Yeah, so do
I'll
I.
get the idea.
Yeah.
I want to finish, obviously Pokemon. I'm at the very end. And then Astral Chain I need to finish as well.
Oh, I gotta play.
Yeah, those are the two. Like
We
Disco
gotta play
Elysium
Outer
and Astral
Wilds.
Chain. Yeah.
Outer Wilds. I gotta check out.
I'm like an hour and a half in Outer Wilds. I played it when it came out, and I think I got that one. I got more pressing things. I think I have a rough sense
I
of
need
how
to
I
play.
feel about it.
That's on my list
Yeah.
of check this out. For
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. So it'll be a lot of research, but we'll kind of sort of have like 2 weeks to play games, because for categories, I don't know how much research we need to do for that one.
Yeah,
I don't know if we need to go and finish all these games and stuff. But again, suggest categories, please. This will be a fun time. But you know what we need to do right now?
Go pee.
Nope.
Okay.
First, Jeffem, what is your game of the decade? 2019 excluded.
Oh boy.
Now we take everything that we've listed.
I mean, I think. Do you want? Jeffem's unsure. Do you want me to say mine? You can guess mine.
Inside?
It's easy. No, it's Breath of the Wild.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That changed everything about my favorite franchise in such an amazing way. But Inside would probably be 2. Yeah, probably
Inside
2.
two?
Really? Is that right? Do you think?
I love Inside. That game is amazing. That's one that I will return to every other
Yeah.
year or so, and
Yeah.
play through.
It's interesting. Just looking at the number ones, it's like there's a chance Stardew Valley.
That
Really?
It's just the
If
games
I were
that
to
brought me
guess
the most
yours,
joy.
I would have guessed Stardew Valley would have been yours.
But that's too throwback, and maybe it's too simplistic too. But I think I have to go Breath of the Wild,
yeah.
just
Yeah.
for the game that shocked me the most, and it's still frustrating for people. Like, oh, it's just like an open world, but like, it's the structure, you idiots. It's the wildly progressive structure.
I specifically remember Bert saying like, oh, the world in that game is so empty. I was like, what are you talking about?
Compared to what? Yeah, there's an outpost in a Far Cry game, like having a sense of discovery around every hill. Like,
yeah.
There's some maze. Who cares?
Yeah, I think Breath of the Wild is up there, but mother effing Dota 2, man.
Dota 2, game of the decade.
That makes
Absolutely.
sense.
That makes sense.
I have spent so much time with that game, and they just messed that game up again. And the ways they've turned it from like, oh, it's a remake of this old mod into like something so like unrecognizable as that, and to have balanced. Also, like a weird thing is that even now, like at the time, I remember Dan Tack talking about, it's like, oh yeah, it still has like the greatest asset in that all the heroes are free. But like that is actually like in the long tail been such a huge part of why I play that game, is that like you don't have to buy any of the heroes. Like there's that game has cosmetics out the ass, but like the fact that you can go into a competitive game and have access to all its entire skill set from the go without paying any money is, I think, that is something that is continually unsung. Like there's no other game in the free-to-play game space at that level that does it. Like even Siege, you have to buy operators and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
right.
What would be number 2 for you think?
Maybe either Witcher 3, Undertale, or Zelda. I think those are
Undertale.
those are the 3 up there. Yeah.
And Stardew would probably be your number 2, right?
Probably.
Or PUBG, I guess, would be the other one.
Yeah, but that was just that year. But yeah, it probably would be Stardew as number 2.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, we vamped enough.
Yeah, and I have to pee so bad, honestly. I'm not going to say Red Dead 2 because I haven't finished it.
You've had a year.
Yes, but
proof's in the pudding.
I would
I heard it's
say
in the pudding.
original Red Dead still.
Yeah.
2010.
Oh, 2010. Okay. Oh, sure,
Interesting.
Yeah, and so you've learned to impersonate the main character of that game, right? Mm-hmm. And so you want to give us a sample?
I gotta go pee now.
Pretty good.
Last of Us is right up there.
Yeah,
with me,
Last of Us up there.
So we're in agreement, though, that MinnMax's game of the decade is Breath of the Wild. Cool. All right, let's move on.
You know, honestly, I wouldn't even fight against it because
right?
I know how crazy. Although you guys didn't even. How many people actually said Breath of the Wild? Kyle?
And me.
And him.
And I suggested,
But you're on the fence about it.
No. I'll give it Breath
And
of the
he
Wild.
hates it as much as I do. That's right.
Number 2, more like number 2.
No kidding. All right, stamp of approval. Let's move on to some community stuff. Hey, it's time to give thanks to everybody that's supporting us on Patreon. We only exist because of people's generosity and support. If you've supported us at any level, you get access to the Discord, which is a wonderful place. If you don't support us, go to patreon.com/MinnMax, 2 N's, check it out. The Discord, I love for a lot of reasons. There's channels. I posted like a tweet recently from the MinnMax Games Twitter account showing like the variety of levels and just like channels within that Discord. But like one I really love is the Streamlinks channel, which was recently kind of renovated and put up. But like if you're looking for a nice audience to get your streams out to, just like a little bit of feedback, like it is such a great place. We also have like community created content. So if you're working on something, you're writing reviews, making videos, like it is such a nice community to have some instant feedback. I saw my friend Ronnie jump in there earlier today and he was talking about Luigi's Mansion, where it's like people don't even know that he's like my best friend and they're still just like eager to talk to him for a long time about Luigi's Mansion. Like this is the nicest community ever. Very confusing. But patreon.com/MinnMax, 2 N's. If you support us at the $100 level, we are changing things a little bit, but the good news is that we're changing it in your favor. If you're watching the video version of this, you probably already noticed the change, but how this works is $100 before used to be we would put your name on the screen for a little bit, but we realized now that we have our old CRT hooked up with my old laptop, like we can go above and beyond. So now for the back half of every episode of the MinnMax show, on our wonderful TV in the background, we have a slideshow of the names and what is officially being called the Wall of Heroes, which is from an old Extra Life bit. Used to be the pictures behind us. But you will notice that some people have pictures, a lot of names up there. So if you support us at the $100 level, you can send us a picture, reasonable picture.
Right.
And we'll put that on the TV behind us and it'll rotate through the back half of every episode, which I think is a really fun way. It's like better than just one shout out. It's everything. So again, check it out, patreon.com/MinnMax, and we'll put whatever picture you want along with your
Within
name.
reason.
Within reason.
Two ends.
On
Two
the TV
ends.
in the background, even if it's, a product you're working on or a screenshot from the game you're making, anything like that. It's just going to be a fun way to rotate through. And Serial, don't you dare get in the way. Don't you dare block that TV. No matter what. Just go back. Just go back. But included in the Wall of Heroes is I also included the $400 supporter, which is...
now that's value.
Isn't that a bang for your buck?
Double
we go.
bang for your buck.
Richard Mady, who has changed his wonderful slogan for his VR game to the top. He now says, Happy holidays, MinnMaxers. Are you getting cozy in your brand new VR headset? If so, check out To the Top! A first-person platformer that gives you superhuman abilities and a chance to escape from your family with hours of gameplay. Official PlayStation Magazine gave it a 9 out of 10. It's available on the PSVR, Steam VR, and Oculus Home. It's 2020, y'all. Take the leap into the future with To the Top! Thank you for your generosity, Richard Mady.
Thank
rock,
you.
dude. I hope you enjoyed the screenshot I chose for that one back there. If you want me to change that, let me know on Patreon. Okay, the way this works is every week we post on Patreon, and if you support us at any level, you can leave a comment on that post. So we usually post like Tuesday afternoon, somewhere around there, usually after our Great Goaty Hunt streams. And then people leave a bunch of wonderful questions and theories, feedback, words of wisdom, and then
games.
And games, most importantly.
Yes.
Because we're all here to celebrate games in one way or another.
That's right.
Here we go. Andrew Baker, but also several other people wrote in with the same question. With the 25th anniversary of PlayStation upon us, my question is, what is your first memory with the PlayStation? Mine is seeing Crash Bandicoot for the first time and playing the first island over and over because that game was really hard for a 4-year-old at the time. 4 years old?
Wow.
That would be impossible. Papu, that's probably the only words you could say when you're 4 years old.
They're a little bit more vocal than that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that how kids work? First memory of the PlayStation. This is tricky. Like, really try and dial it back.
Yeah. Mine's Crash Bandicoot 2 at my cousin's house in California.
So you visited your cousin California and said, what the hell is this?
Your cousin California.
My cousin California. I mean, I knew what PlayStation was. I had an N64 at home, but that was the first time like I had the controller in my hand and played a bunch of Crash Bandicoot 2, and it was like, oh, there's like another really cool platformer that is comparable to Mario 64 over here. And yeah, and then my other weird like early PlayStation memory is loved Mega Man X. I heard rumor of Mega Man X4 existing, happened to find it at a pawn shop and bought the disc, and then like had the disc for like months before I was able to finally buy a PlayStation so I could play the Mega Man X4 disc that I had found. Because back then, I don't know if you know this, Hanson, you actually had to buy physical games. You could just download stuff.
How's this?
So if something was hard to find, like you had to seek it out.
I thought you were going to go the direction of Mega Man Legends. Because if I was a huge Mega Man fan back then,
I played Mega Man 64, so that covered that.
Oh, of course.
But Mega Man X4 was like, it had anime cutscenes, bro.
Yeah, hey, that's great. But hey, that Mega Man Legends. I mean, what was that like as a big Mega Man fan? Because like I love
Legends.
This is impossible, yeah. But I went from the TV show. I love the Mega Man TV show, and then Legends, which
I know is Mega Man
it's
guy.
the wrong path.
It's
but
weird,
like
yeah.
as a Mega Man fan, when you saw Mega Man 64 then for the first time, was that a mind blower?
It was disappointing, actually.
Really?
Yeah, like because I knew it was a weird thing because I was X, and then I was like, well, I know there's Mega Man, which is kind of different, and I thought I didn't know what to expect when I rented Mega Man 64 from Blockbuster Video.
Yeah.
But it was kind of underwhelming initially, and I was like, I don't know if this is really what I want from Mega Man. I'm just sort of standing still and shooting in a 3D environment.
Mm-hmm.
But I played it to the end and ended up really liking it by the end, and then recognized it as being something different than Mega Man and Mega Man X that just happened to have a blue robot boy in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, what's up?
He's just Googling Mega Man
Buster
butt now.
video?
I don't know, Kyle. That's not a funny joke. Why would you?
Just look up that Gutsman video from YouTube Poop or something. That's a much better video.
I really had a tough time trying to think of
Your first?
the first moment of the PlayStation, but like I would rent the N64 when that came out. But I remember I bought my PlayStation in 97 because I remember Crash 2 had just came out, which was October 97. And I was really adherent to the lore of Crash. Where I'm like, Crash 2 just came out, but I need to buy Crash 1 first. So I'm going to buy Crash 1 and Lost World. I think those are my two games that I
Or
bought.
you could play as a raptor, right?
Yes, but you might be thinking of the Genesis one. Where you can also play as the
Couldn't you
Raptor.
also? You could play.
You
as
can.
Okay.
Yeah, you can play as the Raptor. You play as like you start as the compy and work your way up.
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
you play as
okay.
the T-Rex and stuff.
Sorry for the pulling you aside there.
No, got it. And then I remember playing at my friend Eric's house, and I remember he had just the weirdest selection of games. It was super early on. So it was Frogger on PlayStation. It was like the first time I ever played Frogger. And I was like, well, this is unquestionably a great game. Not realizing that there are better, more traditional versions of Frogger out there.
It was actually questionable.
That's right. And then he also had Spot Goes to Hollywood.
Okay.
But I think, if I remember correctly, we could not get the disc to boot up. And so I never got to see it. But then Abe's Odyssey was also an early one that it blew my mind. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't own a console before the PlayStation, which is insane. And so seeing games like Abe's Odyssey, going from literally the Apple II or Game Gear to Abe's Odyssey, it's like, oh my God, there are so many input commands on this thing. This is amazing.
Yeah. I think my weird memory was like, I didn't get a PlayStation until super late. I think it was like 98 or 99. But it was a weird thing because like, I was a 64 person, and then like one day my dad just walked in and was like, hey, I got you this thing. It's got discs on it. I got it for $100 from a friend of mine at work. So here you go. And so I played like Crash Bandicoot 2, which I liked. And there was this one, I think it was like a licensed Fifth Element game.
Oh, yeah.
And there was this one game, I don't know if it was the same game, but it was like this dude who would just walk around. It was like, we never got past the first level because it was like this icy level. And every time you got past like to something where he couldn't walk, he would go like, no way. And he would do that twice. Every time that you walked up to a surface you could not like keep going on. And we just like spent 2 hours with this guy walking around this one area, and we just
Must
didn't
know what this game is now.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like maybe
you don't know
someone
what it is?
No, I have no
Can
idea
you
what game
describe it
is.
a little more?
It was like it's like a third person kind of like I don't know if it was sort of a weird mix between like action adventure and maybe like an adventure game is the way I imagine it. So it's like a fixed perspective and you're kind of walking around, and there's like this one area that it was like this block of ice where basically you could not walk off the edge, and you would just like stop, go, no way. No way.
I think this is
And then
Overblood.
Is it really?
No.
I don't know.
Write in. Let us
Really?
know.
Have you ever seen Overblood?
No, I've never seen it. Never watched those replays.
Are you serious?
You're in the Facebook group. I watched the entire.
Yeah, I know what the game is.
When you're describing it, honestly, there's a universe where you're describing Overblood.
I mean, yeah.
This
honestly.
is it. This is going to freak me out. Okay, hang on.
This is super funny if so.
Because it's like
the
icy opening environment.
and you can get. It's hard to get out, right?
Well, that's true. I mean, it's. Hang on. Serial is looking at a loading screen from Overblood.
Does this
right
black
now.
screen remind you of Overblood?
Hang on, it cut to a YouTube ad.
The Subway.
There was a Subway in Overblood
There was a
too.
sandwich.
Serial Vasquez, did you play Overblood?
I don't remember
as a
that.
kid?
I just remember an
No way.
icy outside exterior.
No way.
Okay.
Maybe someone does know it, but
Yeah, write in next week.
there's
I want
a
to know
chance
what that
it
is.
totally is.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
such a fun mystery.
No way.
No way.
I was thinking about like why I eventually bought a PlayStation over an N64, and I think, or like why I was just excited about it. And I think a huge part was the Crash Bandicoot ads. Like I thought those were so funny on TV, and just to have like this, I mean, I know I'd never seen like a mockumentary at that point. So just to have like this weird ounce of like, is this really happening? Is it like early Jackass? Like what is happening
Is
in
this
these
how they
commercials?
film the model? Is this guy in a suit with a little hole in his
Right, but it's like, is he actually like at Nintendo yelling at them? Is he actually getting carried away by the police? And like, I went back and rewatched all those ads this morning. I still think they're funny and well done.
And you still can't tell if they were real.
I don't know. But I think that's huge, and I think that's. I mean, obviously, Crash sold so well, and I think that you cannot discount those commercials and like the people who came up with those commercials back in the day for part of the success of PlayStation.
For sure.
We should mention our brothers and sisters over at Game Informer launched their new issue this week, which is a cool oral history of the PlayStation from Jeff Cork. He got to talk to Kutaragi and Mark Cerny and like basically
literally everybody.
literally everybody. It's amazing to piece that whole thing together. And then also, and the entire cover story is online as well. But did you guys see that video that Polygon posted as well?
I don't think so. No.
It's insane. And so Matt Leone was like an executive producer on it, but it's this documentary crew, but it's all in Japan, and it's, it's a little bit overshot in some ways where it's a lot of like narrow depth of field and some cool atmospheric music, but the content is just amazing because it's just like a bunch of very technical folks Japanese developers that worked on the PlayStation in the earliest days. So like, the tech lead behind Tekken 1, there's another tech lead from Final Fantasy 7, and it's all of them in this restaurant getting drunk and just telling stories about working on the original PlayStation. And it's just like this level of comfort, especially from Japanese developers, that you never get to see. So definitely check it out. Yeah, Polygon's YouTube channel, and just look up how the PlayStation came to be or something like that. But yeah, it's just absurd. It's fun to see so many people celebrating the launch of the original PlayStation. It's a hell of a system. I also remember how the PlayStation changed video games forever is the name of that Polygon video. But I also remember this friend of mine brought his PlayStation over, and it blew my mind as well because I'd never seen any ounce of piracy before. And he had just like CD spindles of just all these games, and he was from his uncle who's in Thailand, got this modded PlayStation or something like that. And so it was just insane because I was going through all these discs and it's like, oh, here's just all the PlayStation greatest hits, but being so new to video games, I didn't know any of them. Remember, one of them had a game case, and it was Mega Man Legends. Because I remember seeing that cover and being like, that's a really cool like anime look. What is that? And then it wasn't until years later I'm like, oh, it was that really great game. I saw it years ago.
Just like Surreal with Overblood right
Exactly.
now. Blowing his mind.
I also had a similar thing with piracy. I don't know if this actually was like before that other memory, but I remember going to a cousin's house and he had like this enormous binder of like 400 games in it. And I was looking through them and it's like, man, I don't like the cover art on any of these. It just looks like someone wrote them on Sharpies or whatever. So it was like, I played through like Metal Slug X and Metal Slug 3 back to back. It's like, these are really cool games, but I don't know what they look like because the discs are all just like pirated.
Yeah.
Someone wrote the name on Sharpie, but like I spent the entire time like, oh, this PlayStation console's pretty cool, like not knowing what it actually was.
Yeah.
But yeah, piracy, fun time.
Hey man, what a time. Barrett Boswell says, hello crew. The rumor has dropped of Resident Evil 3 remake coming based on some leaked art. I'm excited for this.
It's a weird way to announce it.
Yeah, what did they do that for? I'm excited for this because Nemesis from Resident Evil 3 was such a terrifying character to encounter, but I'm also worried for his portrayal in this remake. The stellar Resident Evil 2 remake made Mr. X such a perfect, terrifying menace. I don't know how you improve upon that for Nemesis. If he breaks through walls, does that break the game by having a new entrance exit? Does it feel too scripted if he does? What about his running? What about his running he could do? Will Jill have a dodge, and does it make it easier to avoid him in this one? There is a lot of questions about how they're going to pull off Nemesis because everyone has such fond memories, but I agree, like Mr. X is almost the best aspects of that. And so how do you expand even on the Mr. X formula from the remake?
I mean, is everyone just overthinking it? I mean, it's like, why not just sort of emulate Mr. X and then like add a couple additional abilities?
Well, let's focus in. I think this is a very good point from Barrett here. The idea of him being able to bust through walls, but it was all, I believe, in like scripted places before. But like if that's the thrill, it can't be as dynamic as Mr. X is.
Yeah, and it would feel weird in a modern game to break through a wall and then not be able to use that as a path, I guess. I'm trying to remember, because I played Resident Evil 3 for the first time like 2 or 3 years ago on Vita. Wow. And I'm trying to remember if that like opened up entrances or anything like that. I'm afraid I don't remember. But like I feel like people are overthinking it. Like this question overthinks it. Like I like it's okay if it's scripted as long as it's like well executed.
That sucks.
I mean, but if that's what the game is, like Mr. X's original introduction was scripted and it was awesome, you know?
Right, but I think the remake does a good job of you never quite know exactly what's going on. There's enough variety there.
And if they emulate that and like, you know, iterate on it and add more sort of variables, like I don't think I think it's less complicated than people think it is. But I'm also not a game developer, so maybe I shouldn't make claims like that.
Maybe he'll bust through ceilings.
Maybe you bust through walls this time.
Oh, that makes me feel good
and
to
you
think
scare
about.
Him.
Yeah. What about it's so weird in Resident Evil 3, and I didn't remember this until watching Tim Turi replay it this year, actually. But like the weird binary choice. Remember, like I completely forgot about this, but you can like choose to fight them or run every time you encounter them. They're getting rid of that, right? It's just that's too antiquated to have this weird binary thing. Because no one loves that about
No,
Resident
I'm going to
Evil
kick
3.
his ass this time.
Yeah, this time I'm winning.
Also, it's crazy. You forget how much of that game is in the police station again.
Yeah.
And so like they already have those environments ready to go.
Yeah, that art leaking like that does make me wonder how quickly we're going to see that game. Like, is that like middle of next year, you think? Or even earlier than that?
Yeah, Capcom's been on their big January kick for so long. I can see them.
Good job, Capcom.
Good job, Capcom. They probably need more time though. So
yeah,
because Resident Evil 2 was not that long ago. So I can see this being
like co-developing them or something. You know, I don't know.
They probably want to get it out maybe before next gen.
Yeah, I would think so.
So maybe like summer or something.
The other thing is like, I mean, does that leak specifically say it is a standalone game? I mean,
could be like an expansion to
which
2?
would be crazy. Like they shouldn't do that, but like it's not impossible.
But also there is the Resident Evil Resistance, which is the renamed Project Resistance, which is the multiplayer thing. So maybe those would be bundled, as Joe Juba once speculated on the Game Informer Show podcast.
I would like it to be DLC, if for nothing else, then the title of the game would be Resident Evil 2 : Resident Evil 3. Which would be an all-time great title.
All-time great title.
Mark Polly says, hey, ministers of maxing, how do you feel about game websites reporting on leaks? I know in the age of the internet, it's a moot point as news spreads regardless, but I know I certainly would have preferred to find out about Resident Evil 3's remake by watching a trailer. Should the websites be respecting the company's right to surprise people, or is it their journalistic right to report on it?
I think it's the latter. I think they should report on it. But
going to that site is an option.
But I also sympathize, because it would have been more fun to sort of like see a reveal trailer or something like that. But it's like we can't ignore, or they can't ignore this information that's out there. That would be like silly to just like pretend it doesn't exist.
I always love how Jason Schreier over at Kotaku has evolved, where he's talked about this on the podcast and some other places too. Just that idea that like he knows a lot of upcoming games. And I feel like a lot of sites would love to be able to post of like, hey, Resident Evil 3 is coming. I feel like Eurogamer kind of did based on somebody else leaking it originally. But Jason Schreier's at a point where he's like, I don't do that because I don't want to ruin surprises for people. Like I will post about Fallout 76, which he did to like leak that because he thought it was bogus that Bethesda just released the trailer and then put pre-orders up without any more info. And so he's like, I need to reveal what this game is so people understand, so the consumers are being effed over. But I always think that's a really classy way to go.
Yeah, to be thoughtful about it is appreciated for sure. Yeah,
you bet. Jonathan Din says the Game Awards show is next week. It's on Thursday, right? By the way, I'm planning on streaming that and doing commentary. Anybody's welcome to swing by if you guys are going to be free, but
do you think
pressure.
There's a way, we could talk about this off air, but do you think there's a way I could stream it with you remotely?
That sucks.
I know, but my wife's going to be out of town.
That sucks. Bring your kid over here.
I guess I could.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Maybe I'll do that.
We'll give her an award. We'll give her a game award.
Yeah.
Best kid who sack whiling. It was a good girl.
Jonathan says, besides the obvious discussions about Game of the Year and all that, I look forward to announcements. Do you think we'll see any substantial announcements at the Game Awards this year? And if so, what are your predictions? Yes, I believe we will.
I think that's a safe bet.
5th Smash character, probably.
I think Smash DLC is a really good bet. Do you think we'll see Bayonetta 3? Because it was 2 years ago that they revealed it there, and then it's been silent since.
Yeah, we know Animal Crossing from Nintendo, and I feel like that's it. Do they have another 2019 title? Because I feel like
Metroid Prime 4
or 2020, yeah. But like, yeah, either one of those I think is like those are the only games that we know of left. Maybe Breath of the Wild 2, but like I can't imagine.
Oh man,
I bet
Breath of the Wild 2 is actually not a bad bet. Even if it's just like Aonuma and Miyamoto sit next to a TV again.
Doing that weird thing like, wow, look at this draw distance.
I know.
Show me all those awesome features on the gamepad that will eventually strip out.
We need to take another look at that, by the way.
We really should.
But I think, Breath of the Wild 2 maybe something.
I bet Metroid Prime Trilogy.
Oh,
this seems like because 4 is probably not ready, but that's been rumored for so long. It seems like it exists. Wink, wink.
The rumors we always heard were like, it's done. It's done. It's just they're waiting to release it.
Do you think that's a Game Awards like tier announcement?
I
like,
think
hey, this remaster's out.
I totally think it is. That sounds like the right level.
I would even I think that would be the way you bump it up a notch. Just say like, hey, it's available now.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
No,
but
Nintendo.
I mean, otherwise, I don't know, like a collection.
They do that stuff now.
But I don't know if that like without the surprise of it being available immediately. I don't know that just having that collection is like
that's huge.
Yeah.
People will love that.
They would
buy it.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but like, but
that's not the question.
It doesn't feel like it's like that.
Yeah,
if
it's
you
not
gave
Nintendo
Nintendo like, hey, announce something here.
3,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Rocksteady.
I'd hope so, but I don't think
that's
so.
The announcement is Rocksteady.
Do you think?
What's the director? What's his name?
Sefton Hill.
Yeah, has he tweeted that it won't be there yet?
That's actually good. He did last year, right?
He always did it for E3. But
I believe he did it for the Game Awards last year. But here's the twist, though.
Let's check his Twitter account.
I bet that they reveal the new Warner Brothers Montreal Batman game.
I can see that.
Which was the Court of Owls.
Squad, maybe, or something.
No, it's like Court of Owls is what they teased, right? And that's been out there It was like what, 2 months ago?
It's such
or
a
something?
weird reveal in hindsight. Like I expected when that came out, I was like, oh, next week we'll get like the full.
I thought it was going to be on the
drop.
cover of Game Informer that month, as everybody's speculating. It's like, no, it's not.
The Blue Point.
Well, but hang on, real quick.
Blue
But
Point.
do you think though that I think Warner Brothers Montreal is basically a lock in my mind. I don't know anything, but it seems that way. And so then at that point, Rocksteady probably wouldn't do it because Warner Brothers wouldn't want
I think
to.
at this point they may as well just make it next gen, right? Like
I think it is for sure next gen. And so one of the first parties would probably want it on their stage at E3 then, right? To show off the tech. All right, problem solved. Yeah.
we did it.
Yeah.
Rocksteady, just follow our plan, and more success, I guess, will come your way.
Blue Point, the Great Blue Point mystery?
Yeah, whatever that ends up being, whether it's
But that's also
Demon's Souls
PS5, and so I don't think they would do it. I think that's going to be saved for however
I could see
Sony
like
wants
the
to
teaser
show
of
off.
like the announcement of what it is and being like, hey, Blue Point, Demon's Souls 2020,
No.
and then that's it.
Yeah.
No,
Really?
that's foolish. Yeah.
Why?
I think because I think Sony is going to want to hold all PS5 stuff very close to
For
the
their
chest.
like whatever February thing
for
they
the
did
equivalent of February stream if
Yeah.
it happens again, something like that.
So Sefton Hill's last tweet was on September 21st, and it was him sharing a video that someone basically made the Batman the Animated Series intro in the Arkham Knight engine.
So make of that what you will, everybody.
He
There you go.
hasn't tweeted that it's not going to be there. So.
Confirmed.
Proof is in the pudding.
Where's this pudding you keep talking about?
It's upstairs in the fridge.
Oh.
with proof in it.
Yeah, extra proof for you.
100 proof pudding.
There's Hello Games' Last Campfire, which they haven't shown or mentioned since last year's Game Awards where they announced it.
Oh, the brothers.
Starbreeze.
No, not the guy that directed it, who made the.
Yeah.
Oh, his next
Ferris.
game.
He teased something on Twitter recently of like motion capturing something, and that's where
really?
they revealed the game originally. I think they had that
Right.
train sequence, which is like not in the final game.
Well, that's for A Way Out. That was the tease of A Way Out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
So like
yeah.
he's teased motion capture footage in like a
Right.
studio on Twitter like in the last couple days. So maybe something from that studio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just Dance DLC. I don't know.
Just to be not fun. I don't know. This is tough info.
Just
but
to
like,
be.
I know for sure there are going to be 2 games at least that are revealed, and one I think is going to be like a big thing.
All right.
So please look forward to that. There's still
very
life in the current
cryptic.
generation. Wink, wink.
Prime trilogy.
Not that. Dakota Salmaron says, "Hey, MinnMax crew. Dakota Salmaron here. Salmaron. Correction. Oh, what's this? What's the juiciest inside secret you had to keep that's now public knowledge, or what did you have to keep secret the longest?" Follow-up question,
man.
have you ever accidentally spilled the beans? I don't think so. Unless you count what I just did.
I've only purposefully spilled the beans.
I accidentally wrote a preview for Mighty Number 9 before embargo during PAX.
And you posted it online?
Yeah.
And that's
so
why
you
the game
leaked it?
failed?
No.
And you feel responsible?
It was like it was like the first playable, and I said nice things about it. But I got a message that was like, that demo that we gave you, that was embargoed. We're very impressed how quickly you wrote that up and posted it, though. And I'm like, oh crap, sorry.
Remember Red Ash? Remember when they were making the Mega Man Legends style game?
Remember when Mighty Number 9 was
Yeah.
going to be a TV show?
Juiciest inside secret.
You and I knew the entire roster for Dragon Ball FighterZ, including one of the DLC characters.
That's true.
Oh, that's a good
Back
one,
in
yeah.
the September before it
Well,
came
Kyle
out.
knew it too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you were there as well.
Yeah.
Did you forget
I remember you.
That's a fun one.
It was like the entire cast and Broly
Yes.
we saw on that character select screen, so which was the first DLC character.
Yeah.
And at the time, I remember thinking, oh, Broly must be in the main cast because this is it, right? And I think I remember I had to get like the clarification on by them of like, oh, he's not in the final game when they like because they hadn't revealed the character by the time the game came out, and I kind of emailed them. I was like, is he in the? Have you revealed him? And it's like, no, he's not. We haven't announced anything about him. But even though we played as him, and everyone else.
Last time I was in Japan, I was at like a toy shop, and they had in the Dragon Ball Z section they had a figure for Android 21.
Yeah,
really?
she's become surprisingly popular.
Really? Do
Yeah.
you think they're going to make a saga about her for the show?
I don't think I mean, Akira Toriyama did design her, but he does that a lot. It seems like. But
Have they communicated if they're adapting the Broly movie into an entire saga? Because that would
think
really
so.
suck. I hope they don't.
That seems like what's going to happen next.
I like that movie, but
Yeah.
I'm so sick of them repurposing that stuff.
Yeah.
There's a weird thing like where you hear a lot of rumors and it's like, hey, this crazy thing might happen in the industry, like purchasing some big studios that would shake up, the entire industry. And it's like, oh my God, that's crazy. And then like years go by and it never happens. And it's like, what was that? Did people just get in a boardroom at some point and then it fell apart? Like, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe it all is just nonsense and it's all blown out of proportion and just hearsay, So that's always fun. I think the craziest one, Jeff, I'm curious if you remember this. We knew about episode 7 before that was public, like the Disney purchase and the fact that they were making a new Star Wars. You remember that?
Oh, wow, really?
Mm-hmm.
It was, don't reveal who told us, but it was one of those things of like, are you holy F? Like that was the hardest thing to keep. It was maybe like a couple months before it was announced, but knowing that there's new Star Wars and like no one on the internet was talking about it was insane.
That's crazy.
That's a good answer.
And I remember telling one of my friends who was a huge Star Wars fan, thinking that it would be a cool move and he'd be really impressed by my inside knowledge. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, probably. It's like, what? No, I know for sure it's happening.
It was, you could have posted that, like, there's new Star Wars on Twitter, and, like, people would not have believed you, I think, at that time.
Yeah, that could be. Adam Walker says, hey, Darth Courteous, style Hilliard, and Godfather. Very deep cuts.
Okay.
I thought he'd go for hang time, but that's fine. What is the first time you played a game and realized it was bad? I rented Sonic 06 from Blockbuster. Kyle wrote Mega Buster. That's not... Back in the day, and returned it thinking I was bad at Sonic games. Then I got Spider-Man 3 and it finally clicked. I realized it wasn't as bad at games as I thought. Some just weren't very good. Thanks for all the content. First game you played and realized sucked.
I mean, I don't think it was really till like Dreamcast PS2 era
that you had a discerning taste?
Yeah, that I finally was like, it was like...
That
when
you realized it's not you?
Yeah, it's like when I started working at a GameStop and I could just take games home and try them. Right. And then I was like, and then I had the opportunity to be like, I don't want to play this anymore and like take it back. Where in the past it was like, well, I got to play this. So...
Right.
But it's tough for me to pinpoint a specific single game.
Because I think I loved every... bad game. I was just so delighted to have anything. Just all the licensed garbage on Game Gear, I was eating it up.
Yeah. Mine was very specific because I had played Road Rash at like a demo kiosk in a store, but I only had a Super Nintendo, not like a 3DO or whatever it came out on. And so I was looking for the equivalent on Super Nintendo, which was called Cannondale Cup. And it was like mountain biking, but you could still attack people. And there was one character that was blatantly ripped off Blanca for some reason. So you could just be this green guy. But I remember playing that, and it was just such a shell of what Road Rash was. And was like,
that's funny.
And just like the dorkiness of being stuck on a mountain bike instead of, a motorcycle with, like chains and the cops are coming, and instead you're just like going over little hills and like, get out of here. It's like, oh man, I made a terrible mistake. I spent like $50 on this, $50 kid dollars on this.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's probably that PlayStation game that I got.
What did the guy say again?
I can't remember.
No way. Because
we gotta figure out what that is.
I think we ended it, and then we were like, okay, we'll come back to this, and then it's like, hey, you want to figure that out or whatever? Like,
no way.
Play that game? And we said, no, I don't want to play that again.
No way.
No way.
For me, I think it was also technically it was just a disaster, but Streets of SimCity was the first game I think on PC where I was like, holy F, this sucks. Which was a really fun idea where you could take your like cities from SimCity 2000 and then basically play Twisted Metal in them. And I love Twisted Metal, and my friends had SimCity 2000. I was like, oh my God, this is everything that I want. And it is an abomination unto God. Streets of SimCity sucks so bad. I'd love to look at gameplay again. Brian Ventura says, hey, MinnMaxers, playing Death Stranding lately, and I felt a sense of boredom and tedium throughout gameplay. But oddly, I'm still valuing my experience. It got me thinking about games that try to evoke feelings that aren't quite, quote, fun. I was wondering, which negative emotions do you most welcome or value in games, aiming for something perhaps more artistic than a fun game? 2 people wrote in this week with this exact question about Death Stranding, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a fair thing to say about Death Stranding.
So, vice versa, which negative feelings are you completely averse to experiencing in a game? Boredom, frustration, sadness, disgust, fear, any of the characters from Inside Out. Yeah. When it's not fun, what do you want in a game?
I think the one that comes to mind quickly is Hellblade. Like, Hellblade is not a fun or enjoyable game. It's very intense and sad, but it's like really moving and affecting in a way that I really appreciated and ultimately enjoyed. But like while you're playing, it's really it really feels like everything's like closing in on you, and it gets very intense.
Yeah, that was a fun one too for the Game Informer cover story trip, because I remember we were talking to the creative director and he literally said that. He's like, oh no, this game isn't fun.
Yeah,
and like,
I
just
appreciate
like,
that. Yeah,
in no other cover story or like game interview would someone be like, no, I have to correct you guys, this isn't a fun game. and it was one of those moments of like, you know, the communications guy, because they were still independent back then, and the communications guy's like, I guess I'll let this one slide. Let the team talk about it. Yeah, and so it's like the weirdest case.
Combat in the game is not terrible.
No,
I enjoy it.
It's not fun.
I mean, moving around, it's like that. It doesn't get frustrating, right?
Yeah.
Like combat is fun, and moving around and like, you know, exploring and solving puzzles is fun. But like every other sort of thing that sets the mood in that game is really dark. You know.
Yeah. I would say that narrative-driven kind of emotional.
Go on.
You know, like I think of What Remains of Edith Finch, of those kind of that have an emotional impact on you. But I would draw the line before a game like This War of Mine, which I'm sure is a great game, but that is the level of like grief that I don't want to experience from games. And I guess
that's a good example.
This Dragon Cancer was one that I was supposed to review. We ended up just kind of talking about it in essay format because you're not going to review that. But that was another one where it's like
playability bullet.
Yes, that was rough. But I can appreciate that there are games out there giving you those experiences, but I don't want to experience it. Like, I don't want to think about the mortality of my own children I may have someday. You know, that's a little too
they're
far.
dead right now.
But sure.
Uh-oh.
We'll stop there. How about you, Serial?
I don't think they're dead. I think they're alive. In your part. I like being like genuinely confused. And I like by like narrative elements. I don't mean like stuck. I like going into something and having no clue what is going on and being like not being able to put like the basic like structure of what a story is or like what is this game. I think is a really interesting thing to think about a game, even after having played it. So I like stuff like I like PT's Final Puzzle, I think, which a lot of people hate, but I like that puzzle is like genuinely confusing in a lot of ways and not intuitive at all. But like that is like my favorite part of that game. And then also just like games that tell like really abstract stories, like Killer 7 does this, where it's like there's a concrete story that you can follow from beginning to end, but that game is so much more about like setting a mood and having all these elements that at first feel like they're just put in there at random. Like I'm a big fan of like games that kind of keep you in the dark for a really long time and make you confused.
I like even outside of video games and like fiction and television, I do like watching things where I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
You know, like I like being in that sort of mindset.
Even
like,
when it's not resolved, like it's like I'm totally okay with coming out of like a movie or something and being like, I don't know what that was about.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of confused as to what actually might have happened. But and like if they do like the other parts of it, like the feelings and individual moments like strong enough, I think I come out of that stuff being like not hating it, you know.
This is a weird one, but like I always think going back to Streets of SimCity about Will Wright saying that like two emotions that can be expressed in games that can't be expressed in another medium is pride and guilt. And so I think having a game that makes you feel guilty is like, it's not fun, but it's really compelling and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I was going to also add scary games.
Scary.
Like Dead Space.
Don't even mention it.
Like
It's
Dead
freaking me
Space,
out.
you know, was one that I had mentioned I have never actually beaten because it was too scary, but I do really appreciate having that feeling where it's like, I don't want to be here, but then I kind of do because I'm playing it.
Yeah. Are you scared of the basement right now?
Yes.
Great.
It's very scary in here.
It is spooky.
Bugs everywhere.
What's the scared version of cold?
Chris Logan says, when did you decorate for Christmas this year? A, before Thanksgiving. B, weekend after Thanksgiving. C, I don't celebrate because of my religion. D, I don't celebrate because I'm a monster. For everybody that does celebrate Christmas, I don't like overlapping it. I like waiting until after Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're a freak.
You are a monster. If you totally screw over Thanksgiving because you're already on to... You have plenty of time. You got a month.
Yeah, there's no doubt Christmas is better and has more evocative vibe, but slow your roll.
That's right.
Give this little guy his due,
Give
and
that
his name
turkey
is
some
Thanksgiving.
time.
Yeah.
I'm glad that
Mr.
we're
Thanksgiving,
finally,
please.
We're finally saying it.
Yeah. Also, how long will decorations be up in your house?
Oh, boy.
A, the day after Christmas. B, the first week in January. C, I don't know, maybe March. We'll see.
C.
Oh, really?
If I even put them up.
What do you mean? You have a family.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
you got to do it for your kid,
Yeah,
man.
you have
I
to
know.
go all out.
She's even asked me to do it this year, and I'm like, I gotta go put lights up. It would make her happy,
You
though.
get to go put lights up.
I get to. You want to go put them up?
No. I don't want your kid.
My wife and I wouldn't do it because we have families that we go to and visit that have trees and stuff like that.
Sure.
But one of her sisters felt so bad for us living in a house without anything. She got like a little small Christmas tree,
Yeah.
that and had ornaments and stuff. And that sat out for like 6 months after Christmas and then when I finally put it away, I just picked up the whole thing with the ornaments still on it and just put it in a closet. So I guess we can
Trash
just
compactor.
pull that back out at some point.
Actually,
Yeah,
I meant to get the tree and bring it down here because I still have a tree that I got that they sent to us for Batman Arkham Origins.
Okay.
And that's been my default tree, and it's still sitting in the closet. So I got to get that in the MinnMax studio here. Also, if you're in Minneapolis and want to feel more Christmas than you could possibly imagine, you don't need to hang anything up, Kyle. Just go to this bar/restaurant called Betty Danger's
Okay.
in Northeast here. They spend a ridiculous amount and just line everything on the walls with Christmas lights and ornaments, and they leave it up until the end of February. It's
Okay.
amazing, and it's up right now. You know,
What's it called?
Betty Danger's.
Betty Danger's.
It's truly insane. Like, I recommend don't even look at pictures; just go there, and it is just a Christmas enema. Let's see. What's that?
A Christmas enema.
Do you know my friend Chris Menema? Sinclair Britton says, with Christmas fast approaching, it got me thinking, have any of you experienced a summer Christmas before? In Australia, Christmas Day can be one of the hottest days of the year, and our Christmas traditions vary wildly from those Australians often see here depicted in the media. For me, Christmas Day is sitting around a pool, drinking beers in the sun, and eating platters of cold meats, cold prawns, etc. Do you think you would enjoy a very hot summer Christmas? No, Sinclair. I think you can go to
I'm
hell.
sorry, but that sucks.
I don't know. I think
that sounds great.
I think that sounds kind of cool.
You gotta have
Like
snow.
a mix of like I could see like going to Hawaii or something and seeing like the mix of like, hey, here's a lot of straw huts or whatever, but there's also like
Christmas
all those
there's
straw
also
huts in Hawaii. It's
Well, I don't know. I watched like over Thanksgiving, I watched like this show where it's like a what's it called? Reality show where it's like competing homes with their Christmas decorations. It sucked. But like the leading weirdo who went all out on this thing, he was from LA. And it drove me nuts because I'm like, you can't do good Christmas decorations in LA. And I'm sorry to our LA listeners and viewers, but put some fake snow out there at least. Like, you don't want dead grass and then Santa rolling around on top of it.
Yeah, I still hate it when it doesn't feel like Christmas here if we don't have snow on the ground.
Yes.
Even if it's still 20 below or whatever, you gotta
Right.
have snow.
Yes. I
Kyle?
agree.
Have you guys seen that movie on Disney Plus with Anna Kendrick and Bill Hader called Noel?
No, I haven't watched it
Takes
yet.
place mostly in Tucson, Arizona.
See, garbage.
It's funny.
Is it funny?
No.
Okay.
It's not great.
Great.
But I love Bill Hader and Anna Kendrick. They're great people.
Yeah, they are great. Robert Alessi says, is the name of your podcast studio the Maxi Pad? Okay, everybody. Let's grow up.
So this person is paying money to send us messages.
Just to get us.
It worked.
It works.
Adam Cohen, what are your thoughts on movie trailers these days? I try to avoid all trailers for any movie or show I want to see because they give away way too much of the show. Ben, in your last podcast, you talked about the most recent Star Wars trailer, and I skipped past it because I didn't want any spoilers. How would you fix trailers?
I love trailers, man.
I do too.
Because I love movies so much, and I don't get to go see all the movies I want anymore. Because I
see a ton of movies.
Dad.
So you see more than anybody else.
Yeah, but not like I haven't been able to see Knives Out yet,
Yeah,
or
same
like
here.
anything like that. But I watch a lot of trailers. I like trailers.
I like trailers, but like with Star Wars and stuff, where I stop, even though I skirt past this line every once in a while, a little cheating. but like, when my YouTube feed is filled with like the 30-second TV spots. Because I feel like that's where they really start showing more than they need to. Like, I'm interested in the construction of trailers. Those 30-second TV spots a little bit less. But I watched one for Rise of Skywalker, and like, it had this line in there where it's like, I didn't want to hear that. Like, that's such a stupid line to begin with, and now I know that this character is going to say that at some point.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
It's me, Darth Vader.
I avoid trailers for anything that I actually think I'm going to want to see. And
Right.
I do appreciate trailers in Netflix and Amazon Prime. Like, I will always go to that because it's so hard to judge if you're going to like something.
Yeah.
But there's also a point in those where I will cut it off, which totally upsets my wife when I do that. But it's like, you're getting in a split. You're just telling me the whole plot now.
Yeah. One time, get a load of this. One time I went to
Save it, forget a load of this.
No, it was years ago, and I went to a movie theater with my wonderful girlfriend, and she didn't know anything about the movie, and so we're sitting down waiting for the movie to start. She whips out her phone to watch the trailer. And I slapped the phone out of her. I'm like, "Are you insane? Like, you were in the theater." She's like, "Well, I want to know what it's going to be like." Like,
Also, I lost my phone now. Thanks. I don't know
It
where.
slid all the way down.
That is like a rare privilege to be able to go into something
I
so
know.
blind.
Yeah.
You know,
Golly.
I tweeted about this yesterday actually because I was thinking about the next Christopher Nolan movie, Tenet.
Yeah.
There's that teaser that's out there, which like someone did send to me, so I was able to watch it.
It's like shaky cam.
Yeah, I think so. But they pulled it down aggressively, like they you can only see it in the theater. And I was thinking, I know like nothing about that movie, and even the teaser that they released like reveals absolutely nothing about that movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I wish. I was thinking like what would be cool is like if there was like a Hitchcock approach to it of just like the trailer is just like maybe one of the actors in the movie or Chris Nolan walking out and being like, hey, this is the guy I made Dark Knight and Interstellar. My new movie's coming out. I don't want to tell you anything about it. Just go see it.
I know I sound more like my brother Jonathan right now, but
the greatest mystery of all is why they have different accents.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was thinking about how enamored I would be with that idea of just being like, just go purely on the history of their work, their filmography. Be like, here's my next movie, come see it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. It's called Tenet. That's all you get to know.
That's what was so frustrating to me about Endgame. That is the one example where they could have done that. And they shouldn't have shown anything, but it's like, hey, remember how Infinity War ended? Crap was nuts, right? Anyways, Endgame, out this day. I think it would have made...
They totally could have done that.
It would have made, what, 92% of the same amount of money? Like...
Would have been the same. I don't think you even have to put a percentage
maybe.
in there. You know?
It's still probably cracked the top grossing film of all time.
So the trick is to just have the creators just... sitting on a set being like, hey, here's our new movie.
Yeah.
Just come see it. We're not going to show you anything from it. But.
Absolutely.
Or do like the Grindhouse approach where it's just like very fast clips and then someone being like, this movie will melt your brain.
Right.
That's a good idea.
You pay for the whole seat, but you only need the edge. Knives out.
Adam Wright says, hey,
Ryan Johnson. Knives out. I made Looper. Knives out.
That was like the most star-studded cast, but they just don't reveal it. Adam Wright says, enough of this Game of the Year talk.
Yeah.
Have we talked about that this episode? He says, what's your favorite film this year?
This is tough.
I think I speak for everybody when I say Men in Black International.
I watched that movie.
Did you really?
You don't have to.
Really? Not a single smile?
It's inoffensive. It's just so bland and boring. It's funny because... Do we want to talk about Men in Black International?
I do.
The first 5 minutes of that movie is Tessa Thompson figuring out who the Men in Black are.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You misheard that, didn't you?
No.
Okay.
Go on.
Oh, now I'm confused. But it's really fascinating to watch her try and track down the Men in Black, right?
Yeah.
Like she's just a normal civilian.
That is fun.
And I was like, this should be the whole movie.
Yeah.
And it should end with her being like, train me, I'm ready, bring me in. But it's like the first 5 minutes and the rest of it's just like nothing.
Here they are over here.
It's just them
Just farting
sitting
the
in a
wind.
room.
I think it's awesome because we all love Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they're proven to have great chemistry in Thor Ragnarok. And I think it's just a good test case of like, yeah, it turns out a lot of that is the writing and the tone of the set and the director.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you can't just pluck two lovable people from one movie. And it's like, chemistry ain't always chemistry, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't very funny overall.
Yeah.
Best movie of the year.
No, I think we got it. Let's no.
Can we throw some out there? Some, like Endgame obviously was this year.
Choose your number one, though.
But I gotta think about what I watched
great.
this
Well,
year.
then
I'm going to have to go with The Irishman.
Yes. Oh, very interesting.
And I enjoyed the story very much. I, like you, after you had talked about it a little, I wish I knew more about the era and the actual
Did you look
events
it up
and
then?
who the characters are. Yeah, afterwards, which is kind of too late and kind of defeats the purpose. But just the gravitas of having those three actors and that director back together again to make such an epic, sprawling movie.
Totally. And like, I consider Goodfellas like one of the most rewatchable movies of all time. Like, I've started on a plane so many times, like, I just want to watch a couple scenes. It's like, F it, I will just watch the entire movie just because I love savoring every scene. And I really loved, even those 3.5 hours sitting in the theater and watching Irishman with Dan Tech, best buddy at my side. And just like soaking in those scenes. I'm like, I like these scenes. I don't think it's not nearly as good as Goodfellas, of course. But then like, even now, I will look up clips on YouTube of The Irishman. It's like, I just love rewatching these scenes. Just like, not even these crazy fantastical scenes, but just like, there's a scene where they have a meeting in Florida with Al Pacino's character and the other character. Like, I just rewatched that scene again. It's like, I will just soak in that dialogue. It's just so comforting in a weird level.
And even, like the scenes between, De Niro and Pacino are amazing to watch. But even when you do have smaller but good character actors, when they get to interact with one of those people, and like, it must just be blowing their minds to be in a movie with De Niro and to be facing off against them and stuff. Like,
I forget his name, but it's the guy who plays the guy who has the bottle in the Copacabana, remember? And he's like, and he's kind of getting out of control in The Irishman. Like, I saw an interview with him where he was talking about like how terrified he was. I think it was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and there's a clip on YouTube or whatever. But how terrified he was of interacting with De Niro. And he said, like, I did not talk to him. I was just waiting to be spoken to. And I remember we had a scene and we were face to face and I hadn't talked to him. And we were waiting for the camera to start rolling. And we're like just about a foot apart from each other, ready to kick off this scene silently. And then he said that De Niro reached over and he's like, hey, let me fix it. And like fixed his tie a little bit. And he said it was like the greatest honor of his life. Like, De Niro touched my tie. And it's like, man, you're in this scene with him. Like, you should be allowed to talk.
Wait till you see this movie you're in him with.
Yeah, exactly. It feels cliche, but like, I think Endgame, it probably surpasses Toy Story 3 just in terms of like seeing that and the mood in the theater on one of the opening nights. Like, that was electric. I still go back and watch like YouTube clips of just audience reactions during certain scenes because it's amazing what they pulled off.
Yeah.
It's good. Was Us this year?
It was.
Okay, I like that movie. I have not seen that many 2019 movies. I think it's Us and Endgame, I think, are the two that I maybe remember watching. Yeah. You guys might want to name some movies from 2019.
Nah, Hanson wouldn't do that for me.
Fighting with My Family.
No.
That's another movie.
That's the only other one that came out,
That's
right?
the only one.
You know,
I'm more of a TV.
I wouldn't call it my favorite movie of the year, but like one that has really surprised me that I really liked is Klaus on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. The reviews are really great.
Yeah, like I don't, Christmas movies or whatever, but like that one, it's like, it's 2D animated, basically. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
And like the story's really cool. Like it takes a sort of an approach to Santa mythos without magic or fantasy. It really surprised me. Like, worth watching.
Will it scratch that Rise of the Guardians itch?
They'll scratch it harder than that movie. I've watched that movie a lot.
Here's probably my second favorite movie this year, other than Endgame, is Apollo 11, which is a documentary that I think CNN produced just about the moon landing, but like no interviews, just archival footage that they've gone back and like made look great on a big screen. It is so amazing. And then I watched that movie and I just started crying. Like, it is such an emotional ride. You just want to like soak in what it was like, raw moments, raw dialogue of just what it was like to actually land on the moon. It's just unbelievable. And there's just like this little moment, and like a person I was watching it with could not believe that this made me cry. But there's this little moment where they're like, oh, I'm going to cry just thinking about it, where they're getting in the lunar capsule. Is that what it's called? Or the rocket ship? What do you call that thing?
You watched the documentary, not us.
The shuttle, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess it's the shuttle. Because there's so many phases of that. I don't know what to call it.
It's important that you get it right for the sake of this story.
When they get in the thing on Earth, there's like somebody at the top of the scaffolding that's like helping them out and like closing the door. And there's like this quiet little moment where one of the three astronauts just goes like, hey, thanks a lot, man. And just like thank each other in like the most intense moment on Earth. But just that idea of like, well, you're sealing the door and we're probably going to die in here if we're gambling men. But like, just like, hey, appreciate that. And like that just slayed me. It's such a dumb moment, but it's incredible.
Sounds
Apollo
dumb.
11. Yeah, it's very
sounds
dumb.
Great.
Oh, it's so good. So good. So good. And then immediately after that, I watched that Buzz Aldrin episode of 30 Rock again. Just to have the worst juxtaposition of like, what is happening?
That's amazing. Oh, gosh.
Remember when he says, Liz Lemon goes, yeah, walked in your apartment. You didn't have a door? He goes, yeah, I don't believe in barriers because I keep breaking through them. James Smith says, as we approach the end of 2019, I wanted to ask, did you hear that, Serial?
Yeah.
There is a weird clicking over there that happens
like a
all the time in
radio
your
about to
studio.
explode.
Yeah. Anyways, as we approach the end of 2019, I wanted to ask, how are those New Year's resolutions going? Did you make any?
I don't think so.
I don't think I did either.
I can't remember.
Seems like we
Maintain
should.
Mine was to
employment.
remember stuff more.
We should be serious about tracking resolutions this time around, though. Don't you think?
720p.
You know, I cut out soda significantly.
Hang on. What did this guy say? What did this guy say?
I said 720p.
This jokester said 720p.
I made my goal weight. So,
Keep going. Are you going to keep going, or do you feel like now it's getting
I have
dangerous?
another goal weight in mind for next year.
Is there a tease?
It's a half.
That's right. I'll
gonna
reveal
reveal it?
our Game Awards announcement. I didn't want to say it. Keely, thanks for helping out, but I will reveal my goal weight at the Game Awards.
This is not the resolution, but this is a very simple thing. But because of these situations, I want to also track the movies that I see in 2020 because it's all a blur.
Yeah, I keep track of the games I've played and beat, but I should. I've always wanted to go back and try to create that list for movies. Try to write down every movie I've ever watched. Period. Which would be
Oh my
really
God,
hard.
that's a
and
fun
then keep
idea.
up with it, you know?
Yeah, if there's like a master list somewhere on the internet of every single movie ever made.
Letterboxd, right? The app. It's like a social media platform where you can review movies. Like that, I was kind of like, maybe this I can use to do that because you can literally watch things as watched or want to watch. It's pretty cool, actually. Like, I would recommend it. But yeah.
Sounds cool. Sutton says, what is a game you're embarrassed for not having played? For me, it's Metal Gear Solid. Does that computer keep shutting off?
I think it just keeps going to sleep. Look, we're working out the kinks.
Yeah. All right, I'll go fix it. You guys talk about a game you're embarrassed for not having played.
Mine's like World of Warcraft, I think. Because that just seems like such an important video game, and I've never touched it. I've never installed it, never done anything with it. And I'm ashamed to admit it. But I'm admitting it to you guys. I've never touched World of Warcraft.
Yeah. It won't leave this room.
Mine's not finishing Red Dead 2.
Yes.
I know, it's bad.
Why?
Because there's other games.
And you don't want it to end.
And I don't want it to end. I don't want it to begin or get to the middle part.
To begin.
I'd rather that game not start.
And Final Fantasy VII is another one that I haven't.
That one
haven't
I've at
played.
least put like a good 10, 15 hours into.
I put
on
nothing
certain points
into it, so.
over the years, but I've never finished it.
Probably
you?
like the second half of Final Fantasy VI. Because I only played through half of Final Fantasy just before the good part of that game starts.
Interesting. Yeah, that is. Yeah, you're missing out on some stuff. For me, that's not important. For me, it's a game. Let's keep this theme rolling. Mega Man Legends 2. I've started multiple times, and I love Mega Man Legends. So what?
Were you
So
done on
much
that
fun.
Super Replay?
No, Jason produced that one.
I actually am the opposite of you. I've played through Mega Man Legends 2 multiple times. I've never touched Mega Man Legends 1.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
You want to race? Ezereth, how's it going?
Hi. 2 ends.
Good.
2 ends, buddy. Is anyone on the MinnMax crew a fan of Mech Warrior? And if so, what are your thoughts on the coming release of Mech Warrior 5? Will anyone be reviewing it? I loved Mech
All of Heroes,
Warrior 2. I played that a lot back in the day. And so I do actually have a copy of Mech Warrior 5, so I will be playing it, and I believe the embargo will be up for next week, so hopefully I'll talk about it then.
There you go.
And then we'll get to our categories? I don't know. Hopefully I enjoy it. I'm looking forward to checking it out, strangely. Anybody else played Mech Warrior?
Yeah, I struggle with mech games. I don't like slow-moving robots.
Yeah.
I like fast-moving.
I think I played a Mech Warrior game. But
Sorry.
go ahead.
Has someone made a VR version of? Because there was that famous mech game where you had the huge controller thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Steel
is there
Battalion.
a cockpit VR mech game?
I'm sure.
I'm sure there is.
But it's
yeah.
upsetting that I don't know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, there was like on PSVR, there was like on the demo, there was a bunch of demo games on there. One was like a mech.
Oh, and
But
they
is
made
it-
that
is it
Zone of
like
the
you're-
Enders.
Is it,
VR
you know,
thing.
you're controlling all the different, gears? And
I don't think
You want Steel Battalion VR, which
Yes.
is-
Yeah.
Well, there's Steel Battalion Connect, which is probably as good.
Yeah, just as good.
Here we go. This mech game makes unbelievable use of VR. And
It's
the
what we're waiting
game
for.
is not listed. What is this game?
Node?
Battle? I don't know, man. Look it up, everybody. Okay. Let's see. Brian Keese says, hello, Ben Hansen and the Saucy Minxes. No. I'm a lover of all things that can be put in a list format, so here's one for your consideration. Were you to open up a new tab on the browser of your choice right now, what would be the 4 or 5 websites, MinnMax friendly, of course, that would pop up as the most frequently visited links?
Should we just do it?
Can you do that?
It'd probably
I
be
think if I just pull up
mobile?
Chrome, it will.
Well, just take your pick.
Slack, Twitter.
You don't have those
Slack
as
on
apps?
the browser, huh? Slack on the browser, huh?
Yeah.
Twitter on the browser.
I
huh?
don't like desktop notifications. This is
What
me.
are you talking about? Notifications?
Yeah, I don't like on my phone. I'll do it, but on my desktop,
Like you don't like seeing the red dot.
I don't like. No. Like even in Slack on the browser, it'll show you the red part. But like for the thing to emerge on my desktop of like, hey, someone posted a message. I hate that.
You can turn that off.
Yeah, I have those turned off, but I just don't like using the app because it's always like it's constantly asking you about notifications.
Okay.
So I don't know.
All right.
And then like Dota Buff, which is like the stat tracking site for Dota.
What are you tracking?
Like wins, hero pick
Dotas.
rates, things like that.
Cool.
Mine
Maybe
is
Facebook. I don't know.
Twitter is apparently number 1. I'm sure this jostles with number 2, which is, of course, Board Game Geek.
Oh, wow.
Then Gmail, I guess, which doesn't seem right. Then Game Informer, MinnMax Patreon.
Hey!
Gotta check that. And then Amazon, I guess.
Oh, very exciting. And then what was that site that you were talking about before we started recording?
Bang for your butts. That was a joke. I don't even know how we came up with that, but I said that has to be the name of an adult film, and so I Googled it on an incognito tab, though. That's why it's not showing up here.
Safety
And it
first.
turns out we were way off with porn. It's actually all exercise headlines.
Bang for
of
your butt.
These are the 8 best bang for your butt exercises that you can do.
It's the rare instance of expecting to see garbage, and the internet has made it wholesome.
That's
yeah,
right.
it's
That's right.
lovely.
It's nice.
It's lovely. Brooks, Michael
I'm sure that's
Williams.
ruined now, though, since we've mentioned it on the
That's
podcast.
right. MinnMax technically owns it at this point, I think.
we
Yeah.
registered the domain name bangforyourbutt.porn.
But it's an exercise website.
Yes.
Don't get the wrong idea.
You're very confused.
Brooks, Michael Williams. Hello, MinnMax. Get a load of this for a second, he says.
Hey.
My partner and I love Dragon Quest XI-S. We just got into the series in kind of an odd way through Builders 1 and 2. I'm 25 hours in, and I'm comfortable in saying this might be one of the best JRPGs I've ever played. But here's the thing, and it's going to sound like I'm yanking your chain here, but it's true.
But I am yanking your chain? Is that...
Yeah.
Also, Holly Hunter's narrating this one.
All right, buddy. Without fail. That's a different voice. Every time we hit that hour and 15 mark on any playthrough, we start to nod off. There have been times when we've both been straight up fallen asleep mid-battle despite having a really great time. After talking about this for a bit, we came to the conclusion that the game is just so comfortable and the gameplay loop is executed so smoothly that Dragon Quest XI-S might be too cozy for its own good. We've never had this issue with any other game. Isn't
The
that
S stands for sleepy.
I've never not had that issue with any game, period.
You fall asleep all the time?
I fall asleep constantly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it an age thing? Because you guys
Maybe.
are old as
Yes,
hell?
Yeah.
it is totally an age
I mean,
thing.
being a dad thing too. Honestly, I know it's
Oh,
like,
right.
but like, I'm still trying to catch up on sleep from the infant years. you know?
Really?
I mean, yeah, honestly. But yeah, no. I fell asleep in the middle of a very important Death Stranding cutscene, and I had to like, I used the share button to try to like go back and watch stuff when I fall asleep.
Bob Buell says, howdy, we the peepo. Jumping is so common in games, but when was the last time any of you fellas actually jumped in real life?
I love this question. I was watching the Watchmen movie because I can't get enough of the show, and
weird.
there's a scene where like Rorschach jumps through a window, and I'm like, has anyone ever jumped through a window ever? Period. Ever in an escape and like gotten away unscathed? Like, do
Right.
you think that has ever happened? And do you ever think that like a serious debate has ever been solved by people like punching each other like they do in Marvel movies, you know?
Like Civil War?
I mean, there's arguments that will like turn into fighting, but I feel like political. Has there ever been like a political sort of debate?
Yeah, I don't know.
that
Have you
ended in
ever
a
heard of
fist
World
fight?
War II?
Good point. Good point.
They punched real hard that one.
Okay.
Do you
Last
think
time I jumped though.
Hang on, though, because you mentioned Watchmen. What was it like going back and watching the movie in the middle of the show? Was it surreal? Was it fun?
It's fun.
Fun.
Like it's
David
a,
Hayter joint.
Yeah, it's a nice like recap in a way. Like it's nice to hear all those names again, like especially like the minor characters that you don't think about, like the politicians and stuff like that who have now hired
Glenn Keane.
Yes. Yeah. Like
Owlman.
Altman?
Owlman?
Oh, Night Owl?
Yeah, Owl Boy.
But it was fun to watch it back, and that movie still has a lot of good parts in it. The whole sort of how Dr. Manhattan came to exist is really well executed in the movie. I feel like,
and you're a big fan of that sex scene, the Hallelujah on the owl ship, right?
It doesn't go on too long. Definitely not too long.
So absurd. Kyle.
Oh, you want to talk about it?
Give it up.
Bring it up.
Without spoiling anything on Watchmen, give it up.
All right, do you want to explain it?
Please, you tell the story.
Okay, so
I'll bask in my
there's
glory.
the Watchmen show, very good. You should watch it.
The best.
I would say, like 3 episodes ago, you made a call about a potential revelation.
Which was in this latest episode.
Which
ended the latest episode.
And when you told me about what you thought was going to happen, I said something along the lines of like, I think you have some interesting ideas here. There's no way that's what is going on.
That is not a concept in this world.
Yeah, and you called it. You nailed it.
Thank you.
You did it correctly.
And what I love about you, Kyle, is yes, I felt like I was going out on a limb, and I'm like, I'm going to predict this just in case this happens. Then it did, and I'm sure some people on the internet have pieced it together before I did, right? But it was going off of like 1.5 clues.
Yes.
And then it happened, and I was like, oh my God, I need to reach out to Kyle just to feel and like make sure that he remembers I predicted this. And you gave a long Slack message giving it up in the best way.
Yeah,
you said,
because you said,
marry me.
You said, have you watched the latest episode? And my response was like, yes, have you? Because I wanted to make sure, because I was tempted to message you right away.
Yeah.
I was like, nope, I don't want to give any hint.
Right.
Like, I'll wait till he comes to me. And I had like a big paragraph of like, you did it, man.
It was so sweet.
You're right.
It was so sweet.
You guys want us to tell you what
How
it is?
intrigued are you now, sir?
Someday I'll have an HBO subscription.
Oh, yeah?
It's an amazing show.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Neil Brown says, howdy, y'all. Which silent protagonist has the most amount of character/personality?
Ooh.
While I think someone like Gordon Freeman has a good amount of personality, it's very awkward when everyone talks to him and he just stands there doing nothing.
I don't think that's the case.
South Park games played it very well with some NPCs commenting on their silence. That is funny.
Yeah. A Toon Link is probably up there.
Are you joking?
No, personality?
Oh, were you looking at my screen?
Oh, no, I didn't
I
see
wrote
that.
down,
Okay.
Toon Link.
Toon
I thought you were just
Link,
reading it up.
No. Because I was thinking of various links, and some have some personality, most don't. But Toon Link definitely does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing one, but yeah, Toon Link.
I think Owlboy might actually be up there because he's in the world. He is a mute. He is someone who has chosen not to speak.
Yeah.
But people react to him, and he kind of like he expresses very well. And you even without him speaking, you get the sense of what kind of person he is.
Yeah, it's built into the narrative.
Yeah.
That's smart. Yeah,
that's smart.
Okay, I should play that, huh?
Yes, Kyle.
James Knight says, "Hello, Minty boys."
All right.
Better
than Minx's.
Yeah, I don't know who was rooting for that. Over the course of this gen, I've gone from playing predominantly on PS4 to playing more on Xbox One. A notable difference between the two is that a lack of ambient music on the Xbox home screen. With the looming release of PS5 and Scarlet, do you guys desire music ambience on your next-gen home screens?
Real quick,
this is a question.
Real quick, you can turn that off.
Yeah, I did immediately. But I love this. Do you guys want it?
Depends on what it is.
Yeah. I'm always curious to see what like Nintendo is doing because they always have like interesting like eShop music and stuff like that. The Switch.
But then they made the Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it because it's such a temporary stop on the way to playing a game. I don't, like I have a Shadow of Colossus theme on the PS4 right now.
Yeah.
So I get all the Shadow of the Colossus sound effects when I click through things, and there's that like ambient kind of like windy, cavernous sort of sound that permeates Shadow of the Colossus like on my home screen, which is weird. So I'm into it. I like it.
It is weird whenever I'm like at a friend's place or something and I hear that background music for PS4. It's like, you still have that on? Like I can't imagine.
I haven't turned it off, which I should because I don't like it and it drives my wife insane. Whenever we just leave it on, and it'll be on for like 2 hours because we're not touching it. Don't
fall asleep.
Grow up.
But yeah, sure, add it, and I will hopefully turn it off if it's annoying.
So we're all hoping that there's music on the home screen?
Why not?
Sure.
It's better
as long
than
as you can
just
turn it
nothing,
off. I guess
right?
I don't really care.
What if you couldn't turn it off? Would you be curious just as
Throw
an
that
industry?
PlayStation
That would
out
be a
the
huge
window.
mistake.
All right.
I would just mute it myself, mute the TV until I...
Dr. Vader says, hey there, minions. With the announcement of Evil Genius 2,
Dr. Vader talking about evil minions, huh?
Yeah. I started replaying the original. and I quite like the announcer in Evil Genius 1. What is your favorite announcer or narrator in a game? Mine is the announcer from Gauntlet Dark Legacy on PS2. Kyle, where are you going with this one?
Smash Brothers feels like the easy one.
Oh, interesting. Would you take Smash Brothers over Halo? Because Halo is dorky, but he's like so iconic. And
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Halo one's more fun.
Oh, hey, remember a long time ago when we were going to talk about Halo Reach?
Oh yeah, Halo Reach is on PC.
What do you guys think of it?
I like it. I've been playing on Heroic, which I think I will probably end up bumping it down. But it's very weird how I've accidentally I can't aim down the sights. I keep pressing this button.
Yeah, and like sprinting is on X. Like,
and it has like this weird I can sprint for like 10 feet and then I'm very tired because it was like it's like an armor ability. But I think those encounters are still designed really well.
Yeah, Reach is like one of my favorite. I think my ranking is like 2, 1 Reach, 3, 4, 5.
Mine is probably like 3 Reach and then ODST even.
Yeah, I started Reach. I never started it before, but one of the best games from 2010. No, never.
It's great. Yeah.
Would it be in your top 10?
Absolutely. No, I don't think so. But I just played the first mission or whatever. But it does such a good job of like setting a distinct mood out of the gate where it's like the music obviously is huge and then just having that downtime before the first encounter and like everybody on their intercom, but like the radio is so like distorted, like the radio chatter, it just sounds and feels so weird and subtle in a way I wasn't expecting for the opening of that game.
It was kind of like scary, I guess you could say, of like, are they going to do Halo without Master Chief?
Yeah.
And like, but I ultimately, like, it's one of the things I really like about it because it's like this like weird sort of morose ultimately story about
it's
like
just Rogue One, right?
Yeah, basically. I like Reach a lot.
Weird parallels too between the fact that you're replacing someone on a squad and it's like you have really big shoes to fill.
And we don't want anyone to fill those shoes. Was that the line?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Did they explain? Was it like somebody that they love that just died?
I don't think there's a lot of additional explanation
about who that is.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Was there additional explanation at some point for why a bunch of ostriches ran out and charged me in the beginning of that game and I accidentally shot them? And they're like, that's going on your record or something like that.
That actually is like a weirdly cool moment because it is like they're actually injecting some life into those worlds, and not just having Covenant in there. So
yeah, for sure. Also, I played Firefight for the first time too. Do you guys like Firefight?
I mean, I played it a fair bit at the time.
Okay. I was shocked that like enemies just kind of like warp in and not even like lore-wise, just like they kind of like pop in. And then also there was like a bunch of like confetti and stuff going off all the time. Like it had a different tone than I was expecting.
Set skulls and stuff to do
maybe that's
stuff.
What it was?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Virtual Cat says, question for Suriel. This damn Dota patch, huh?
Yeah, it's the amount... the neutral items change the game in such an interesting way, but I don't know if I like it because it just seems like, oh, this team got this item, so they were already ahead so far, like just because this item happens to be so good for what how you get it, which is just by killing random neutrals in the jungle. But I like Snapfire. I don't think she's great, but she's like she's an old lady who rides around on a giant lizard. And she has like a machine gun turret basically, and that's how she attacks basically. She has one thing where she just fires a bunch of shots in a row. She has one where she feeds her lizard a cookie, and the lizard is so happy that he springs forward and he stuns anyone who like is in that area. But you can also feed cookies to your teammates, and they'll do the exact same thing. And then there's like Void Spirit, who's like this big like edgelord teleport guy. I can keep going.
We're good, but thank you. I'm sorry for not listening closer when you talk about Dota. I am interested in it, but
I like the cookie stuff.
Yeah, that's fun.
You have cookies?
Thomas Hoster says, "Hey, forget Dota. What cars do you guys drive?"
Did he really begin that email with "forget Dota"?
No.
Okay.
Cars do we drive?
Yeah.
2012 Mazda 5.
I don't know. Ever heard of a 2015 Hyundai Elantra?
Oh, no. Fancy boy.
2004 Chevy Cherokee, I think it is.
We're all clearly big car people.
2000 something Chrysler Sebring.
Hell yeah. Please draw that fan art where we're all Cars version of our cars.
Oh, no.
Dave Yanity. This is a question just for Jeff. He says, "Hello there, Mitten Brothers. If you're,
that's not bad.
People are still coming up with new things.
That's not bad. I think that's the name of the people. Is that you can just come up with whatever, right?
Yeah. Okay, so if you're anything like me, you spend a lot of time playing video games and wondering, is that character a good kisser? I've listed 7 characters below. Please choose who the best kisser would be, Jeff.
And this is just for Jeffem, right?
Just for Jeffem.
Yes.
The known kisser on the
the
staff.
biggest smoocher in the house. Number 1, Solid Snake, Claire Redfield, Luigi, Miss Pac-Man, Kratos, Princess Zelda, or John Marston.
Oh man, I want to do a John Marston impression.
His breath would suck.
Yeah,
Miss Pac-Man,
Miss Pac-Man's the best kisser.
even though she doesn't really
She's
have
all
lips, but she is all mouth.
Yeah, how are you going to kiss something without lips? It'd be like, what would Pac-Man
She would just as
be?
easily eat you.
Well, he's into that.
But in like a romantic way.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Pac-Man's the answer. There we go. All right.
Wait, she does have lips, doesn't she?
In
like the drawings?
Maybe in the drawings. Yeah. Oh, you're going off like the
big
arcade
smoochy,
cabinet art.
big
Oh,
smoochy
okay.
lips. There you go.
But do you think?
That's right.
Imagine Luigi's first kiss and how scared he was.
Luigi's Mansion is a metaphor for him, like the first time he tried to date a girl.
When you guys had your first kiss, were you shaking with fear? Have you ever shook with fear out of like date stuff? I absolutely
question.
would shake. Like my legs would like shake uncontrollably.
I don't. Maybe
Yeah.
it's not like a visceral memory for me of being nervous. I mean, yeah,
Well, everyone's nervous, but
yeah.
I'm talking
yeah,
like.
yeah. I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
You're talking Luigi shaking.
Yeah.
You were like this.
Yeah.
She ordered the lasagna. Mario. Who's Mario?
Chris Cochin? Coughlin?
Koshan.
There's no way of knowing.
Says, hey,
Koshan.
I
It's
just
Koshan. Guys, it's Chris
he says,
Koshan.
just wanted to say thanks to Jeffem and the team for the suggestion on Just One, the tabletop game. My friends got together this weekend, and it was quite possibly the most fun we've ever had playing a game.
Nice.
It's a very simple word game. It's co-op. We played for hours, and as we kept playing more and more, we were so inside each other's heads that it was impossible for us to get through a round without bursting into laughter.
I am absolutely smitten that we still see more and more people in the Discord calling out that they went out and got that on our recommendation,
Yeah.
that they've been enjoying it.
I know. Yeah, absolutely. Like, my friend texted me over the weekend. He's like, hey, I introduced Just One and Skull to like my girlfriend's family, and it's like the second coming of Christ. And it's like, yeah, like they can really change an entire family dynamic. Like it is the greatest gift you could give someone is just a good, simple, fun tabletop game, because there's so many families out there that are playing effing Monopoly or some boring crap from 1953.
And that was also part of why I got so into tabletop gaming a couple years ago, was because we would take games to play with her siblings. And it's such an easy way to get people to interact more and kind of get to know each other
For
more.
sure.
Yeah.
I will say though, sorry Kyle, but shut up.
Very important thing to say.
I also went out after we told everyone to go try and find a copy because it was on sale at Target.
Yeah.
I went out, I got a copy. I went to 3 Thanksgivings this year, and we never got to the actual game part.
Oh
'cause
my God.
we all got stuffed on turkey and fell asleep.
Most
and
people just had one.
That's right.
I was going to say, after last week, I went out to my car to leave, and I put in an order for one at my local Target so they could bring it out to me. And then Cyril came over, and we all played it.
Is that
And there you
true?
go.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's very cute.
We're changing the world, guys.
one
lives.
step at a time.
Just
also,
one step at a time. Just
right.
one step.
by the way, we didn't talk about this off air, but would you want to stream board games soon?
Yes.
Very soon?
Yes.
Are you free?
I think so.
There's a good chance we'll kick off our tabletop coverage this Friday. Yes?
Hopefully, yes.
Hell yeah, let's go for it. So it's going to be at the $5 Patreon tier. We'll send out a link and we'll play a tabletop game live and then make a public version of that eventually that will be whittled down and stuff like that. But we'll still have to figure out a couple of the dynamics there. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it should be really fun. So we'll just play in the studio. Thanks to the supporters on Patreon. We got the overhead camera and stuff. Thank you so much. All right, now get a load of this. But not quite yet. BM says, hey guys, I purchased Just One and had some friends over to play. Unfortunately, when playing as a unified group, there's really no stakes, no winners, no losers, because it's all just like a co-op thing, which is fair. So you get to have fun for the sake of fun. But get a load of this. This is very good. He says, we changed up the rules slightly. 45-second time limit per round, 10 rounds, and we have to win 8 out of 10. Before the round, we would find someone completely random on Venmo, and if we hit 8 out of 10 rounds, we would donate $1 to them.
Wow.
It had us yelling and chanting random people's names, and it was hysterical thinking of people randomly receiving $1 from 9 different people who they've never met.
That's pretty amazing.
Isn't that a fun idea?
That is one hell of a house rule.
I love that. I really want to play like just one with that level of stakes, like the random charity stakes. That's so fun. Oh my God. All right. As you know, Jordan Schaefer wrote in saying, "Hi everyone, I just played all of Life is Strange 2 over the last few nights, and that game absolutely crushed me. I teared up at one point or another in every episode and was bawling for the last 20 minutes of episode 5. No game has ever come close to hitting me this hard. Please, someone else play this game." That's a good reminder that Life is Strange 2 is out, and I assume it's good. I would like to. I don't know if I'll have time realistically, but I'd like to.
There's so many other games.
I like that first game. Several people were commenting on the MinnMax discussion where we talked about like the huge part of the Patreon pie that's just silent, where it's like people support us and it's great to have so many supporters, but like the Discord has like over 1,000 people in it, but there's still a lot of people that haven't even entered the Discord, and then beyond that, there are a lot of people who don't write in and stuff like that. And so these two people wrote in for the first time, Purse and Matt Girls. Thank you so much for writing in. Matt Girls says the movie podcast you guys eventually make should be called Cinnamon.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Right.
Yeah. Pretty damn good. Okay, D.
4 N's.
What's that?
Cinnamon.
Oh, yeah, of course. Your boy, Dr. Big,
Hey.
DBRG13, he says, "Hello." Okay, don't look at this,
Hi.
Kyle.
Oh,
I have a
okay.
game for you.
All right. Game time.
I have your family's kidnapped. No. I have a game for you. I'm going to list off the names of different locations. You have to guess what game it's from.
Okay.
Number 1, Armadillo.
Red Dead?
There we go.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Jeffem, game of the decade.
What are the rules of this game?
It's just the name of a town. You guess what the game
okay.
is from.
Okay.
What game it's from. Okay,
Red Dead.
correct.
Yeah.
This one's going to be trickier. Rocket Town.
Rocket League.
Rocket League, correct. No.
Pokemon.
Oh,
No.
that's good. Good guess.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. I don't know.
Those are all like real locations, aren't they?
Are they?
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 is a real location.
In our hearts.
And
Isn't it based on like real cities? No, let's see. In this game, in the second disc of this game, you take a rocket up to space.
Final Fantasy VII.
There we go. Radiant Garden.
Xenoblade Chronicles.
No. Okay, so not ringing any bells
Radiant
there.
Historia.
All right, Kyle, you'd be the only shot here. That's Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh, okay.
High Hrothgar.
World of Warcraft.
Come on, Jeff. Do you remember 2011?
Shadow of Mordor.
High Hrothgar. 2011.
2011.
Number 1 game of 2011, Jeff.
Elder
Portal
Scrolls 5?
There,
Skyrim.
okay, there we go.
Skyrim.
No one has ever called Skyrim Elder Scrolls 5.
I don't know.
That's a good point.
Kara Bazaar.
What?
Ocarina of Time?
Incorrect.
Say it again.
Kara Bazaar.
It's like a Harvest Moon.
Game of the
Detroit?
decade.
Oh, that's Breath of the Wild.
It's Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
That's close.
Okay.
Wow, we do not pay attention to where we're going.
Oh, boy. This can't be right. Okay, Kaer Morhen.
Witcher 3.
There we go. Good job.
See, we all know our stuff.
Pacific Log Town.
Pacific Law Town.
I cannot imagine
Pacific
this is
Log or Pacific Law?
Pacific Log, but that has to be a typo, right? That's too stupid not to be a typo. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's correct. Pacific Log Town.
Log?
A game that I bet you've played through twice, Kyle.
Town? That does sound familiar. Log Town.
Pacific Log.
Pacific Log Town.
Limbo.
Inside. Oh, Little Nightmares. I have no
Pokemon
idea.
Ruby.
Oh, okay.
And Orlando.
Dark Souls.
There we go. Sniffleheim.
Dark Souls 2?
I can't even get through this without falling asleep.
Dragon Quest.
11.
What's like a
there we go.
Niflheim? Okay.
Okay, ready for a layup? Onet.
Earthbound.
Ah!
Two ends.
Jinx.
Two ends. Two T's, right?
Two T's. One N. There we go. Thank you so much. That was a fun game. Sorry that this episode
And we did
went
really
long.
good at it,
We're
too.
killing it.
Yeah.
Longest episode yet.
Really?
Sorry. Okay. You guys know what time it is.
Get a load of this.
Get a load of this.
Ta-da!
All right.
Mine's weird this week. I'm going to try something new.
Okay, take it away then, Kyle.
I go first?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. I get a load of this, you guys.
He did it.
This is...
Counts.
It's a physical thing, so if you're watching the video version...
Oh my God.
I'm going to try this. So
Yeah.
it's a fidget spinner. It's
Right.
like a fancy fidget spinner that I have to plug in and charge. So I can turn it on, and then I spin it.
Ah!
I don't know if
Good
that's
God in heaven!
It's
then
gonna
it's
kill
like-
us. Oh,
So
Oh
let's-
my
let's see, hold
God.
on.
it's flying.
Ah, no, I lost it. Well, there you go. I bought
Get
that.
a
I was
load of
really
that.
excited about
So
it.
it's just a flying fidget spinner?
Yeah, and then the idea is I lost it because I went off the table, but it spins and it flies, so you can kind of like throw it up in the air and it floats up, and then you can like catch it, so you can do like tricks and
That's
stuff.
louder than I thought it was going to
Yeah,
be.
it's very loud.
How
The
much was
cats
that?
love it. It was like $12, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy that for my kid for Christmas, and I'm gonna take it and play with it. And my wife was like, why don't you just buy it for yourself? You're a grown up. You don't have to like have this, preconceived, this like fake reason to buy something.
What's it called?
It's UFO fidget spinner or something. I did take a picture of it so I can have the exact name.
Kyle.
The original Boomerang interactive stunt UFO.
Oh, 6 stunts.
yeah.
On this podcast breakdown, Kyle?
Yeah.
Look what I had written down. I wrote down Kyle's flying crazy thing because I saw him tweet it out. I was like, I gotta ask what the hell that is.
Oh yeah, because I think from the MinnMax account, you're like, what the hell is that?
Oh, yeah. God, I hate
It
it.
sounds like it's gonna kill us.
Look at that, it's cool.
Ah!
And the only way to turn it off is to just let it kind of land and give up.
You should.
And
Okay.
destroy whatever room it's in.
Thing sucks.
Yeah, but get a load of that, right?
Yeah, I've got a lot of it. All right. Do you have something that's dangerous?
Yeah, mine should be pretty quick. So a while ago, a Mrs. BB-8 at Estrom Film tweeted out, I think about this more than any film review I've read. And the image is of one, I want to say it's either an Amazon review or a Google review, judging by the interface, but it's by one Alan Mueller. I believe it is of a store from the copy here. Nice, sterile atmosphere. Hypnotically Caucasian. The chocolate milk is strikingly overpriced and at the same time very easy to steal. Another of God's little tests.
Wait, is this a film review or a video game review?
I don't know. It's just a review. It's out of context.
store?
I'm guessing it's of a store.
Oh, wow.
Weird. Okay.
That's great. I
That
love
is
it.
impressive.
Hey, Jeff.
However, did you say get a load of this time, Cyril?
No, you asked me what's my
No, it doesn't count. Disqualified. Hey, folks, get a load of this. I forgot to do one this week. So this is, I pulled this out of my butt. I apologize.
That's disgusting.
It is a tweet. It's a tweet that I read a long time ago that I go back to a lot.
Okay.
though. I think about it a lot. It just says, if you're reading this, release your shoulders from your ears, unclench your jaw, and remove your tongue from the roof of your mouth. We physically tend to hold on to stress in the least notable ways. Relax. And the time when I read that for the first time, it was like, oh my God, I am scrunching my shoulders. I'm, I have all this tension in my brow and my jaw, and I went through the checklist. And it's something that I think about often now, of just every now and then, just stop and relax the muscles in your face and the other places that you are holding
Stop
tension.
doing Kegels.
Yes. Well, no, keep doing those because that's an important muscle.
That's good. I was
That's helpful.
It's a little related, but like I was trying to park in Uptown a couple days ago, and I was getting super pissy because I effing hate parking and I effing hate Uptown. And then I remembered a good piece of advice from comedian Pete Holmes was stressed out, zoom out. So that's just like a nice little refrain. It's like, yeah, this isn't a big deal. It's just put things in perspective every once in a while, which is what we're doing with this get a load of this. Because, hey, get a load of this, guys. I don't know if you remember Thanksgiving last week, but it's very exciting that our boy Goku's in the parade.
Son Goku.
So here's the NBC announcers, including Hoda, I believe is her name.
Oh, okay.
That's not a Dragon Ball character. That's the
I was like,
announcer.
I don't know Hoda.
This is them reading the script, trying to talk about Goku.
Okay.
Well, with superhuman strength, fists clenched, and eyes focused, Goku, the legendary hero of the popular Dragon Ball franchise, returns in his powerful Super Saiyan blue form. This mighty Japanese anime character flies to us from Toei Animation.
In celebration of Dragon Ball Z's 30th anniversary, fans can now experience the story of Goku in Dragon Ball Z, Kakarot, and all new role-playing video game arriving on PlayStation 4 Xbox next January.
And then it's just like 20 seconds of silence because Hoda's just laughing because she had to say the word Kakarot.
I wonder why that cracked her up so much.
I don't know. I mean, it's a dumb name.
I guess.
Whoa.
Okay, let's go.
It's turned off.
Get a load of this, not a load of that.
It's turned off. Jeff was trying to turn it on. He can't figure it out. Just calm down. Take the tongue off the roof of your mouth.
Zoom out.
Zoom out.
All right, everybody. This has been a marathon. Be sure to send us a comment either on Patreon, maybe in the Discord we can tackle this, or a YouTube comment as well, letting us know what categories you would like us to tackle.
Please. And nominations if they want to add those too.
Oh, interesting. I almost would prefer not to have those. I feel like we can figure those out on our own, right? And then we're going to debate our way through them. But
dare
you know
you,
what?
sir.
Why not? Throw it in there. This will be a fun one. We got a couple ideas for categories now, but I think the more the merrier. So next week should be fun. I'm really excited to have all these debates as transparently as possible. I'm curious how with the four of us it's going to go. It could go both ways.
It'll be fun though.
People think I'm a dick to you all the time, Kyle. So I can't imagine when we're actually trying to argue this stuff.
Maybe I should switch with Surreal just to put some space
that might
between
help.
us.
Yeah, someone was like, "Hey, this Patreon's supposed to be about getting better and being nice," and yet Hanson's consistently an.
Really?
Yeah.
You got work to do. Well, there's your New Year's resolution. For you.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, maybe that is. You guys have to send up a flare every time I push it too far? That sounds good.
A flare.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I hate it! All right.
I almost caught it.
Just chewed his neck.
Boy. All right, patreon.com/MinnMax 2 N's. Thanks so much, everybody. Be good, have fun. Let's go.
Yay.
No, not the camera. God. I truly hate it.
No way.